Hey, everybody. This is Carl. Welcome to Carl's Opinion. This is our Tuesday night, late night live call in show, and got a lot of news to cover. I'm sure you guys have enjoyed all the craziness going on out there. The Democrats always love to use a crisis as a way to gain control over us. As a way to change the conversation. The Russian thing, they thought that was their big pitch they were going to go into 2020 with. They're going to have impeachment proceedings. The president's going to be on trial. The evidence is going to be clear cut. Even they figured they could grab some Senate Republicans and get him actually convicted and run out of office, or just weaken him so much that even if they couldn't, if the vote was closed, he'd go into the 2020 election really weak, and people would be like, oh, we can't support this guy, and they'd be able to do something about it. But unfortunately for the Democrats, that didn't work. So of course, the next thing they have to do is go after the racism card, and of course, Trump's a racist, and then of course, just hoping, but beyond hope, that some idiot, some nutcase with a gun would do something stupid, and then of course they can just pile on, and the piling on this time is beyond anything I've ever seen. I've never seen such piling on. Nobody piled on, President Obama for the mass shootings he had under his administration. The shootings, the Dallas shooting of the police officers. That was you could say, hey, the guy was a Black Lives Matter supporter. He had Black Lives Matter representatives in the Oval Office in the White House, about 25, 30 times. He talked about the whole shooting in Florida, the Trayvon Martin thing, the Michael Brown thing in St. Louis. He sent Eric Holder down there. He kind of riled a lot of people up, and then you had the shooting in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, of the police officers there. Nobody laid that on his doorstep and said, "Oh, look, you've been talking all this nonsense, and you got people riled up, and they actually went and did something." No, nobody said that. But yet, one nutcase with a gun goes down to decides to go down to El Paso, and then suddenly like, oh, this has got to be Trump's fault. Then of course, as you saw, I had in the headline there, the Dayton shooter they're trying to stay away from because, well, the guy was a leftist. If someone's in what? I don't know what that's about. But anyway, I was just reading the chat. I didn't see what that was about. Well, that's weird. Okay, but anyway, so sorry that chat just kind of threw me for a second, right, girl? I just look at your chat message. I'm like, what? Like, what's that? What? I didn't, I was like, okay, but yet, the Dayton shooter, of course, nobody's talking about him because he's a leftist. He was the guy's name Jared? I can't remember his name, Jared Butler or something like that. He was retweeting him. The guy who took down Alex Jones. He retweeted him the day of. He got all radicalized. He's watching all the mainstream media saying, "Oh, this is all terrible." Decides he's going to go to some upscale kind of place, over there in Dayton, Ohio, and shoot the place up because he's pissed off that socialism isn't taking root fast enough. But and he's a big Warren supporter, big Sanders supporter. Nobody's laying that at their feet. And then again, God, we don't have to go back that far. Just when Steve Scalise, when the one guy went to target congressional Republicans, and he went to the baseball field, where they were practicing. And he goes, in fact, he even asked somebody, "Are those the Republicans out there practicing?" And somebody goes, "Oh yeah, those are the Republicans." And then he grabs his gun and starts shooting people. And nobody says, "Oh," and that guy was a diehard Sanders supporter. Now the only thing is the guy. I hate to say, but the guy wasn't very accurate with his weapon, and didn't do a really great job of shooting. So is that the test? So it's just like, if some guy is on the right, then he's a better shooter. Then oh, that's terrible. And the guy's on the left, he's not as good as a shooter, but his intent was the same, and he went out there to kill as many Republicans as possible. The only thing that saved those guys was that by having Scalise there, he was the whip. The Republican whip at the time, and so by being the Republican whip, he had two Capitol police officers with him. That was the only thing that saved all those Republicans on the baseball diamond. Because if he hadn't been there at the practice, there would have been no congressional police officers out there with the congressman. And the only reason why they were able to, stop this guy from doing really serious damage was because as soon as he started firing, they started returning fire at him. He was probably caught off guard, didn't realize, oh my God, there's guys here with guns, shooting at me. So he had to take cover. He couldn't really just be, spraying and praying on the field. He was trying to deal with the Capitol police officers at the same time while he was trying to, take out Republican congressmen on the baseball diamond. But again, nobody laid that at the feet of anybody. We don't do that. But of course, they got laid at the feet of President Trump, and now they're making a big deal. Yeah, like I said, great dirtbag. I'm going to cover this story here, and then I'm going to cover the gun confiscation story. and then we'll go ahead and then I'll send you a link and I'll bring you on in. So I'll go ahead and do it that way. Hey, Zacharias King Sword, how you doing there? But what was I going to say? So anyway, so yeah, so I'll cover those two stories. But yeah, the first story you see here, illegal crossing the rest of the Mexican border dropped by about 20,000 in July, and we were talking about this a week or two ago when the June numbers came in. The June numbers had I believe, a 26%, about 25, 26% decrease from May. Now May was a big number; it was 132,000. But it went down like about 25% in June, the month of June, and that was after Trump did that deal with the Mexicans to get them to start arresting people inside their country, and also to start taking in asylum seekers and letting them stay in the country of Mexico. We had a good ruling from one of our U.S. district courts here as well, and the Ninth Circuit actually, that said, hey, it looks like the Mexicans are providing humanitarian aid and also providing jobs, and it's a safe place for these people to wait for their asylum claims to wait in Mexico. And the Ninth Circuit, on a 2-1 vote, said, yeah, okay, you can do that. So we had a good ruling from the Ninth Circuit, which is crazy. I know that sounds nuts. Ninth Circuit gave President Trump a good ruling, gave the American people a good ruling. It said, okay, people seeking asylum can wait in Mexico as long as they speak Spanish. It's a big thing. That's why we're talking about like people from like Africa who speak French. Mexico says, look, we have enough issues. If they speak Spanish, fine, we'll hold them as long as they can speak Spanish and blend in the community and stuff and work in different jobs without having to have a translator. And that's fine. But like people from like Haiti or Africa, they speak French, and the Mexicans say, no, we can't hold them. But the big number in June that went down was instead of having us to release 1,200 illegal aliens, illegal migrants, asylum seekers, whatever you want to call them, into the United States per day. It was 1,200 per day. That number dropped in June to 200 per day. So now you see another about 20% decrease right here. That's dropping it down to a total of about 45%. And again, it was a big number. It started at 132,000. It's dropped down to about 72,000. So it's about 45% decrease. But still, that's a nice chunk of change. And the Mexicans are doing the deal with us, and now we got Guatemala coming in as a safe third country. We're getting ready to do a deal with El Salvador pretty quick, because the El Salvador president wants to do a deal with the United States because he wants federal aid. Obviously, he wants some help, and he just got elected, so he's looking for some friends. He just got elected on an anti-corruption campaign, which means he's going against the corrupt, people in his country, which is going to be a little bit dangerous for him. So he's probably looking for a little help with some security as well, like who's he going to be able to trust, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So so it should be pretty good. But let me get to the next story here, real quick. Let's see, where was it? There we go. So 2020 Democrats push gun confiscations and buybacks after mass shootings. And there's a great picture of Cory Booker, and there's Senator Blumenthal off to his left, and then Senator Dianne Feinstein off to his right. And I think that's Senator Chris Murphy behind him. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who that is behind him. But yeah, I mean, they use any kind of crisis to try to grab your guns. People always forget about the Second Amendment, and I'm so sick and tired of hearing about, well, in my state, we have hunters and we have guns for hunting, and these aren't hunting guns. No, the Second Amendment was not. The founding fathers weren't sitting around a room saying, let's make sure that people in the future can go hunting. So let's pass this. Let's pass this Second Amendment, put it in the Bill of Rights, because we want to make sure people can still go hunting in the future. Okay, that's not why they wrote it. They wrote it to prevent the government from having a monopoly on the use of force. In other words, it's in the Bill of Rights. These are protections against the federal government. And they just fought a revolution against the great empire, the British Empire. And they knew in Europe, the governments of Europe didn't allow their own citizens to own firearms because they were afraid they might rise up and overthrow them if they got too crazy. Well, the founding fathers just got done fighting that war, and they wanted to make sure that our people, their people, them, had the ability to overthrow a centralized federal government. See, they knew when they were doing the Constitution in 1789, they knew they were creating a huge centralized government with a huge bureaucracy. And they weren't worried about some flash-in-the-pan dictator rising up from the ashes and then taking over and then seizing power. That wasn't their concern. They had safeguards built in place for that, like the whole thing when we say things move slowly, that kind of stuff. things move slowly, so you don't have to worry about anything happening too fast and dictators taking power. They knew they had the safeguards for that. They're worried about the bureaucracy, the clerks, if you will. The old saying, the clerks are the ones that gave Hitler power. That kind of stuff. Hey, Fred, how you doing? You know, uh, they're worried about that. They're worried about the government encroaching, eventually getting so much power, as the bureaucracies tend to do. They even understood this back in 1789, that they would eventually take away people's rights little by little. So they wanted the American people, if that happened in the future, to be able to throw off a totalitarian regime that kind of came about through just 1,000 cuts. So that's what the Second Amendment was written for. It wasn't written to protect people from going hunting. I mean, no, that's not what it was for. So generally small arms, semi-automatic weapons. Those are basically people allowed to own muskets, the same same kind of weapons like the federal government had. We didn't really have a standing U.S. Army, but like the U.S. Army had small arms. Not like artillery, cannons and stuff like that, but generally small arms, things like that, semi-automatic weapons. In those days, muskets, those kind of things. So anyway, let's take a look at this. So Democrats push for gun confiscations and buybacks after mass shootings. So this is from the Washington Times. So long gone are the days of John F. Kerry flaunting his affinity for Second Amendment by taking the press along on a goose hunt in the 2004 presidential campaign. Yeah, this season's crop of Democratic hopefuls is attacking far to the left on gun control after mass shootings in Texas and Ohio over the weekend. They have called for national licensing and firearm quote unquote. I just put the quotes in there, quote unquote buybacks, and suggested sending federal agents into people's homes to confiscate weapons. Former VP Joe Biden, the front runner in the Democratic race, said he would create a gun buyback program and remove military-style rifles from people's possession once the weapons are banned. They should be illegal. Biden said, "Look, the Second Amendment doesn't say you can't restrict the kinds of weapons people can own." Well, actually, it's implied that it could be the same type of weapons that you'd be able to use against like a standing army. You can't buy a bazooka. That's true. You can't buy a flamethrower. True, but that's a big difference from going from semi-automatic weapons to a bazooka or a flamethrower, and he knows that. Well, maybe he doesn't. He's kind of senile. Pressed on whether he would confiscate existing guns, Mr. Biden's vacillating underscored the dilemma facing the candidates. And he says, right now, there's no legal way that I'm aware of that you could deny them the right to have legally purchased them, he said, but we can, in fact, make a major effort to take them off the street and out of the possession of people. Public opinion has shifted strongly in favor of stricter gun laws in response to the mounting death toll from frequent mass shootings. The latest proposals, however, are the most aggressive from presidential candidates in decades. Yeah, people react real emotionally to this, and nobody understands the history because and of course, young people don't understand the history because they don't take history classes or civic classes in high school anymore. So they don't understand what the Second Amendment is. You tell one of these kids the Second Amendment, they look at you like you're caught in the headlights. Harris said she was open to mandatory gun buyback program. Okay, I want you to think about that. Mandatory gun buyback. So you must turn your gun in, they pay you some money. If you don't turn it in, you're in violation of the law and people come knocking on your door. She also suggested that she was fine with police knocking on doors and taking away weapons. When she was California Attorney General, she said authorities took guns from felons and people deemed dangerous to themselves or others. But if you have a mandatory buyback program where you say you have to turn your gun in, you're not a felon and you're not dangerous. You just happen to own a gun that they say you can't own anymore, and that's when they come knocking on your door. And if you say no, well, it's going to be a big problem. We have to deal with this on all levels, but we do have to do this with a sense of urgency, she told reporters while she was here in Nevada. Several other candidates want to license gun owners, database of gun owners, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let me go ahead and send the link over to the Great Dirtbag. There you go. Let's see. Hold on a sec. Let me just type this in. There we go. Link is on its way. So, but anyway, so let me see here. And we should be able to hear him when he comes in. At least I'll be able to hear him when he comes in. Should be able to hear him. I'm going to switch headsets real quick here, guys. All right. Thanks. All right. So let's see here. Until recently, talk of a national database. Let me turn this down a bit. Gun owners and buybacks or confiscations of weapons were more likely alarmist fundraising pitches from the National Rifle Association than real campaign promises from mainstream candidates. Those proposals risked alienating gun owners. Hold on. Risked alienating gun owners of gun-owning Democrats across the early voting states of Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Nevada. Activists may rally behind a gun buyback program, but not average Iowans who make up the bulk of the crowd of the caucuses, said Daniel Callahan, chairman of the Democratic Party, Buchanan County, Iowa. See, in other words, you have a lot of Democrats that own firearms, and you have the first state is Iowa. You have a lot of. Let's see here. Up, looks like we got the great dirtbag coming on. So let's go ahead
Yo,
and
yo, what's up, Patriot family? What you got going on? Alex, what's up?
there you go.
Hey,
All right.
Carl, what's up? How you doing?
Hey, not much, man. How you doing? How you doing tonight? What are you up to?
Pretty good, pretty good. Everything's good. I got my red T-shirt on. Got my hat as usual. You know me. I got a, not a, it's kind of a prop thing, but hey, I was kind of following the. Oh, I didn't want to interrupt. Go ahead.
No,
Go
go
ahead. Did
ahead.
you want to finish?
No,
Oh.
I was just saying how in Iowa you have a lot of Democrats who own firearms, a lot of farmers, and they're not going to be jumping up and down about having a mandatory gun buyback program where they take away their firearms and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There was something I was actually glad that Derek Grayson weighed in on this today. Now, anybody who watches Derek Grayson's red flag video, you have to kind of make a judgment call for yourself, but he seemed like he was somewhat in favor of proper red flag laws. But one thing that Derek Grayson didn't mention that I was kind of hoping he did, but you have to kind of, again, you have when you listen to Derek Grayson, you have to be able to critically think and put two and two together because he spells it out for you really good, but unless you understand his talking points, you won't get it. When he was talking about how Democrats and Rhino Republicans can what he I think if I remember correctly, he called it what backdoor the red flag laws.
Yeah.
If Trump did not get involved with some kind of a partisan legislation with the red flag laws, these elected officials would be doing it on a state level. They could, they could easily have, they could easily bypass Congress, um, and just do it through state legislation, or they could have just voted on certain types of legislation that they wanted to see within their own states. They could have made it hard for people coming to visit who like to conceal and carry from other states. Um, and I was kind of hoping Grayson would have talked more about that. But I mean, he did a very, very good job covering what the red flag laws and why he said, like, again, you have to make your own decision on whether or not you agree with his opinion. But the red, the red flag laws in some of these states, from what I was reading, like some of them that they wanted to pass was like literally no due process. At least if they can get some kind of a bipartisan deal in Congress, there will be some due process within the legislation.
Well,
But
well,
I
well.
don't know. What
Hopefully,
do you think?
hopefully they don't pass any kind of federal law, federal red flag law. And I think nobody's leaning towards that direction because that seems like it'd be kind of a problem. Because who goes out on behalf of federal law enforcement to confiscate a gun? I don't think anybody's even going that route. I think what they're talking about is recommending or providing money to states who pass those kind of laws to be able to implement it. Yeah, I don't think anybody's talking
Hmm.
about actually the FBI or I guess BATF would come to people's houses and take their guns. It would be the state
Hmm.
police, state law enforcement. Yeah, the problem in California is that what happens in California is that they come and they grab the gun and then they set a hearing date within like say 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. And then the person whose gun was taken away, he has the burden of proof to show he's not crazy, that he's not a danger.
Hmm.
That's the main problem
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
you know suddenly here's a guy. He wasn't planning on hiring a lawyer, and you're going to court. It's like
Hmm.
it's like me fixing my own car. It's like, yeah, I can do it, but it's not going to come out very good at the end. I'm going to need a lot of spare parts. So you're going to a courtroom. You got a prosecutor there who's obviously an attorney, been there for a few years. You got a judge who's an attorney. You got clerks and stuff who have been experiencing the court proceedings, and trust me, they're very generally impatient with people who represent themselves. So you're going in there trying to
Mhm.
argue detailed technical legal issues. You can't, which means you got to hire an attorney. Well, that's expensive. You're talking a couple of grand right there for an attorney. Then,
Mhm.
since you got to prove you're not crazy, how do you do that? The only way you can do that would be like to go see a psychiatrist, pay him to do an evaluation of you, have the evaluation submitted. But I'm not even sure that the report itself is enough. I think you might have to bring the psychiatrist to be subject to cross examination. I've hired those
Yeah.
psychiatrists in civil cases as expert witnesses, and if you want to get a psychiatrist to go to court, you're talking like $4,000, $5,000 to get a psychiatrist to
Mhm.
go to court because you can't just pay him a
Yeah.
witness fee of $35. So here's this guy. He's like,
Mhm.
say he's out 3 grand for an attorney, another 4 grand for a
Mhm.
psychiatrist. That's $7,000. Well, what if he doesn't have $7,000 laying around?
Yeah.
How's he
Yeah.
gonna prove that he's not crazy? Versus now the state had to
Mhm.
prove he was crazy. Well, then the burden's on them. Then
Yeah.
they have to maybe go have an IME, independent medical exam. You have to go get examined by one of their psychiatrists or something. They pay for it, but if you're coming out of pocket, you got to prove yourself. I'm not crazy, unless you bring a psychiatrist in. I don't know how you prove you're not crazy. You bring friends in and say, well,
Mhm.
he's not crazy, and then your ex-wife or
Mhm.
your neighbor who hates your guts, he says, oh, he's crazy, and then what does the
Mhm.
judge do? And of course, if you're in a liberal state where judges are elected, like California, judge is going to say, yeah, you're crazy. You can't have your gun back.
Yeah.
That's where it's really, really
The
fucked
thing
up.
the thing that really made me mad, well, I won't say made me mad, but I was very disappointed how, and I saw the same exact reaction when the government shutdown happened, when a lot, like when the government shut down over the border wall, this last time, where the Democrats were vacationing wherever they were vacationing, and Trump was in the White House, literally waiting for them to come back so they could start work, and federal workers can go back to. I mean, the furloughed workers can go back to work.
Hmm.
But the thing that these in and I'm just going to point out something. If I'm okay to do that, Carl, I'm not.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Um, I'm not going to mention certain YouTubers, but I know that I saw more than one YouTuber come out and say, "Well, Trump is attacking our gun rights, and he's attacking, with by pushing more red flag laws, and the fact that he came out with this support of red flag laws, Trump better not do this, Trump better not do that." These people, the way they do this, and the way I mean, don't get me wrong, Trump needs to be called out if he's doing something wrong, but you have got to be careful how you word this, because I guarantee you you're giving the left ammunition to use against Trump in 2020, because if you think that they'll restrict those videos,
No,
those are
they'll,
videos.
yeah, they'll let those go out. They'll let those go
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
They'll
Yeah,
monetize them and everything.
and
They'll say, yeah, put them out there.
yeah,
They'll put them up at the
and
top of
and
the list on the
and
search engine. Yeah,
yeah, and I mean, but then some YouTubers are doing retractionary videos, and I'm like, okay, look, the damage is done.
right,
Okay, you made this, and it's like why did you do this in the? I mean, I understand your anger and your frustration, but but choose your words carefully. You can't sit here, like ABL handled it perfectly. ABL, the way he weighed in on the gun, like he said, there were things I liked and things I didn't like. That was perfect. It was good. But then you had some people who were like diehard Second Amendment advocates, which I understand why they are,
hmm,
but they're not helping the cause by making these videos that YouTube will just let those videos
right.
flow through the recommended feed, you know?
Now I'll tell you something right now. I'm a diehard Second Amendment person, but
Hmm.
before I'm going to put something out there, I mean, I
Hmm.
do this for a living. I go to court for a living, and when you're at
Hmm.
council table, big lesson is sometimes you just got to take a breath, stop, think, and then speak. If you
Yep.
just have no impulse control, and if you're posting a video and it's not even a live video, but you're posting it, it means you recorded it, you edited it, and then you pushed the button and you sent it up, and then you still have a chance to edit it.
Yeah.
You didn't edit it, and you let it go. That took a lot of thought. I mean, you all those moments that went by, you could have taken a second to think, well, okay, hold on a second. Let's not just react, because then you're like the Democrats. Something bad happens, you just react, you just act the fool, you say something stupid, But on our side, we like to think, we're the intelligent guys, we're the smart ones, we're the guys who think for a few minutes before we speak and say, okay,
Yeah.
let's look at the big picture. I think Sticks and Hammer covered it pretty good this morning too. I'm not sure if you had a chance to watch his
Oh, I
take on
didn't.
it.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
covered
I
it
didn't
pretty
get a
good.
notification.
He covered it
Oh.
pretty good. He didn't like what Trump was saying about red flag laws, but what he was saying, he goes, look, this situation has to kind of be de-escalated. In other words, look, you got to
Mhm.
de-escalate. Right now, everybody's all emotional and jumping up and down and screaming, right? Well,
Mhm. Yeah.
let's be honest. Give it a week, right? I mean, this
Mhm.
24/7 news cycle, internet, news in your face every minute. Now, the left-wing media is going to do everything they can to push this story hard right now. Like
Yeah.
MSNBC last night had their 2-hour special with Rachel Maddow, Nicole Wallace, and Brian Williams. And of course, they didn't mention the Dayton shooter. They didn't mention that guy at
Mhm.
all, of course. But
Yeah.
they're just
Mhm.
flooding the airwaves right now, which is pushing it, pushing it. They're not giving the Republicans a chance to breathe. Not giving Trump a chance to breathe. Trump needed to say something just to calm everybody down. And it was funny because they're all saying the president needs to go out and deny white supremacy and say white supremacy bad.
Mhm.
And so he goes out and he says it, right?
Mhm.
And then after that they go, well,
Yeah.
he didn't say enough. He didn't do enough. It wasn't strong
Yeah.
enough. I heard one commentator saying, well, he wasn't emotional enough. I swear to God, somebody on
Mhm.
MSNBC said
Well.
he wasn't emotional
Mhm.
enough. He seemed very calm. He should have been like really mad and showing a lot of anger. It's like, I swear, a
Mhm.
guy on MSNBC said that, and I'm like, Jesus, really? What was he supposed to do? Be jumping up and down and go, I don't know. But I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
so whatever he was going to do wasn't going to be good enough. I knew that ahead of time, but he had to do something because, again,
Yeah.
the mainstream media is not America. So America sees him saying something, calm it down. By next week, he'll calm down a little bit more. McConnell should not be calling the Senate back into session. No way. Don't do
Mhm.
anything right now.
Yeah.
Just everybody take a deep breath. Let
Mhm.
this thing settle down for a few seconds. Look.
Mhm.
There's gonna be another mass shooting or something somewhere, somehow, someplace. Okay,
Yeah.
whatever. But I mean, look.
Mhm.
We live in a country of 330 million people. Okay, we're a
Mhm.
multicultural, highly diverse society. The first time in history it's ever been successful. We are successful at it.
Yeah.
But you're going to have a
Yeah.
couple of nutcases on the left, like the guy in Dayton, a couple of nutcases on the right, like the guy down in El Paso.
Yeah.
Everyone, but
Mhm.
the founding fathers knew that when they passed the Second Amendment, they knew that there would be criminals, okay, and crazy people using
Mhm.
those guns that they were giving people a right to own and bear, not just to keep, but also to bear, to carry. There need to be a couple of nuts out there, or criminals that would use those guns against good people. But
Mhm.
the cost of that, the benefits of that far outweigh the cost of people getting hurt by criminals who had guns. Because the whole point of the Second
Mhm.
Amendment was to protect citizens from the government. So if the government got out of control,
Mhm.
the citizens can always rise up, or they wouldn't even have to rise up.
Mhm.
Because if the government knew that these people had guns, they wouldn't even go there. It's hard to disprove a negative, but you can
Mhm.
say, imagine if we didn't have a Second Amendment, what could have happened during World War II or even World War I or going forward during the 60s? Could the government really crack down on people, taking away a lot of our rights when things appear to be kind of bad? Like even the 60s with the riots and stuff. Could they have
Mhm.
gone in and started, locking people up indiscriminately? But they knew we were armed, and they knew, well,
Mhm.
that's not going to go over well. So
Mhm.
it's hard to
Well.
disprove a
Mhm.
negative, but still, that's why it's there. It's not there for hunting, like I said earlier.
Yeah. Well, just real quick, Patricia Dixon released a thing in her. I think it was Patricia Dixon, but it got like over 3,000 likes. Like how the left is silent on treatment of Muslims in China. They're not even talking about it.
No, that's crazy too. I don't get
And
that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but see, the reason why I bring up China in this situation is because obviously, you know, they have no rights except what the government allows them to have. And obviously information is controlled. They're controlled what they're allowed to see. I don't know how often they allow them to use the internet. I don't know if they use the internet in the same manner we do here. But like New World Order of the Times was covering the Hong Kong riots, and I don't know if because there was something about I didn't follow this a whole lot, but anything I'm saying is just bits and pieces that I've seen of it. But some people were saying that that China was, I guess they were um, working with the triads out there to try and quell the riots and things. I don't know for sure. That's something I saw, and I believe it was the New World Order of the Times was covering that. But it wouldn't surprise me if they were doing that because they have, the I think it's only a matter of time before China kind of moves in on Hong Kong and just
Oh yeah.
subjugates all of Hong Kong under communist rule. I mean, and it's like right now with Taiwan, they want to go back into Taiwan, or Taiwan, they want Taiwan to come back into China. But see, all China really has to do is just kind of bide their time, let progressive, the progressives of Taiwan who want ties back, who want to, renew their ties with communist China. All they got to do is just wait till they elect officials who will implement legislation that brings them closer back into China. You know, I mean, but see, the reason why I'm talking about all this is because, even in those countries that have free markets, they're still subjected to corruption and leadership that will suppress information and things about, history and other alternative type governments that people that they could be voting on. And we don't know how fortunate we are to have the things we have here, to be able to see and basically, to see the beauty of a country, to have a great country, to be able to basically, rest your head at night. I mean, like right now we're sitting here talking, we're talking about the news, and yet, I'm in the comfort of my home. You're in the comfort of your home, and overseas somebody may be worried about whether or not they're going to get a bowl of rice to eat tomorrow.
Right.
And
Right.
we just don't.
No, we
But
we don't
but
we don't we don't we don't we use every time you hear people on the left and analyze the United States, they analyze it as some great ideal off in the future, or some ideal that
hmm
nobody's ever going to attain because nobody's ever attained it anywhere in the world. Nobody
hmm
has it right now.
yeah.
So people compare us
hmm
to the ideal of America, but if anybody does a side by side with comparing the United States to any other country in the world, we win on just about every
hmm
metric there is. Again,
yeah.
we're the only successful multicultural country in the history of the world. We get it done. We do it
hmm
right. We have some problems here and there. Yeah,
exactly.
we got some wackos on this side, on that side. We
hmm
have some wackos in this
hmm
ethnicity and that ethnicity. We all know who they are, and we all shun them, but they still exist and they still run around. But whatever. Now
yeah.
the only difference now is like these guys who have no friends and nobody to talk to. Like
hmm
if like they were in your neighborhood, you're like, oh, and everybody just blows them off, and like they're in
hmm
school and nobody even talks to that guy because the guy's a nutcase. Well, now they're on the internet.
hmm
So out of 330 million people, you can find 1,000 other crazy people to talk to. So then you talk to
hmm
the other
yeah.
999 crazy people, and you think, "Oh, we're not crazy. We're all sane." Well, no, you're all crazy.
Yeah.
It's just that you,
hmm
but you can communicate over great distances. You can't. None of these
hmm
guys could find 1,000 people in their own town to talk to. There aren't 1,000 crazy people
hmm
like the guy in El Paso, the guy in Dayton to talk to. But over the span of
yeah.
330 million people, and then you go worldwide, the World Wide Web. Yeah, you can find 1,000 nutcases and say, "Oh, look, we're all saying they're the crazy ones. How they buy
Yeah.
plastic? They're crazy. Whatever that kind of shit." So
hmm
that's the only problem. So now they're here in an echo chamber
hmm
of. But yeah, anytime you do a side by side comparison of this country to any
hmm
other country in the world, I don't care which it is, you look at all the metrics, we
hmm
win on everything. But
hmm
but if you compare us to the ideal of what we could be, yeah, well, I tell you what, when
hmm
it's like trying to reach absolute zero. You're not going to get there.
hmm
Okay, but
yeah.
we're doing really damn good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that whenever you hear people talk about regime change, they always talk about, our democratic way. No one ever says our constitutional republic in another country. They always say our version of democracy, you know, and they've been throwing that word around, for since I can remember, you know, and it's really and it's like trying to think of who it was. Like they were talking about how people, like, some of the words and some of the things that people aren't used to hearing, like like GDP, right? You ask a young, like people that I've talked to, millennials that I've spoken to, I ask them, are you guys familiar with GDP, right? They're not
they,
familiar with like
they,
the term. Yeah, they're not.
they don't know what it means. Really? That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
insane. Like they don't
Well,
know
I
about
mean,
the
I'm not saying they
economic.
all,
They don't know about the
huh?
economic output of the country. Like why that's important to
Yeah.
know one way or the other.
Hmm.
Wow.
Well, it's like, I mean, I was a kid of the '80s. All right. Like for example, you ask a kid who Hanna Barbera was, right? Hanna Barbera. I mean, people my age know who Hanna Barbera was. I'm sure you know who Hanna Barbera was.
Yeah, all those
But the reason why
cartoons.
I'm
Yeah.
bringing this,
Yeah, all
yeah,
those
exactly,
cartoons.
yeah.
Yeah.
But see, what happens is the reason why I'm bringing that is because a lot of these terms get replaced and they get changed around with socialist talking points, and they abbreviate it in the same manner that they have like GDP or let's see, what's another one? Um, like okay, like when I say like democratic government, like our way of democracy. Why aren't people saying like constitutional republic or our way of constitutionalism? You know what I'm saying? They don't use
Yeah.
those terminologies because if they do, then people will understand more why we are a constitutional republic. I one of my friends I told you who was like as far left as you can get. I was asking him what he thought about Bernie Sanders, um, not paying his people $15 an hour. And he looked at me puzzled and said, "Well, some people should be held accountable." And I'm like, well, I'm glad you finally understand. I mean, I didn't say that to him. He's a really good guy. He's a great guy, but just when I talk to him, you can tell he's just backwards in his thinking. He's always talking about how corporations are greedy and corporations hog all the profits. And I'm like, do you even know how much money corporations spend to see what kind of products people like and see what kind of services people are wanting? I mean, they spend tons of money on just trying to stay in existence. I mean, it just what they teach in these it's like Charlie Kirk said, you could learn more not going to college than you do going to college. I mean, most of your average people who become conservative are the people who have been out on their own for a long
Oh
time.
wait, wait, hold on,
Some of
hold
these
on, hold
people.
on. Wait, hold on. Let me ask.
Huh?
I see a message from D.A. Arch in there. I got to ask him a question. I don't understand it.
Oh.
Okay, D.A.
Mhm.
Answer me this. How did President Obama give control to the British of the internet before he walked out? And the control that is going to come of this isn't going to be abused. Laughing out loud. When DAPRA made the okay, okay, I don't understand that one. So yeah, if you can explain that, let me know. But anyway, yeah, because I don't know how he gave the British control of the internet before he left. So do you know what he's talking
Well,
about,
wasn't there?
Great D?
Um. Well, there was. I don't know. I know that. God, I don't know. I think I'm a little lost on that one, but I do know. But there is something that does come to mind. It's like how Google right now is trying. I guess they're like trying to kind of work with China to bring some kind of um, like information control over there. Like they want to bring it over here or something like that. But I'm sorry, I have to go back and research that. But I thought I saw something, somebody talk on that. Oh my gosh, I can't remember who it was. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. China practically steals our technology anyway.
No, he's talking about
But
the
see,
British.
that's a
He's talking about the British.
oh the British.
Yeah, he
Oh,
said the
that I
British.
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that either. So I don't know.
Well, did you hear about that? Did you hear about that? Oh,
But
I
I mean,
think it was Sargon of Akkad's.
yeah, because I mean,
Hmm?
D.A. Archer wrote it, so I'm assuming there's got to be something. Google, Google,
Oh, Google DARPA.
DARPA. All
Well,
right,
hold on here, Carl. I'll Google it on my laptop. Hold on.
let me see.
DARPA. Yeah, yeah. Let me see if I can bring it up. Let me see. Let's see.
Defense,
Probably Google. I'm
Defense.
gonna get
Okay,
all
hold
kinds
on.
of.
Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency about DARPA.
Oh
DARPA
yeah,
has
that's
held
what I got
singular
too.
enduring mission Employment at DARPA. We can apply. Maybe DA saying for us to apply for a job because I got employment at DARPA. DARPA is always on the lookout for outstanding individuals. Hey, I'm getting me a job. I'm going down and apply. Founded by Dwight David Eisenhower in 1958. Microsystem Technology Office, parent organization, United States Department of Defense, and based out of Arlington County, Virginia.
Mhm.
So let's see. Program and life listen. Drilling school.
That's interesting.
The agency of the
Sorry, I
United
don't have
States.
a college degree.
Let's see. Let's see what this says.
Although sometimes I wish I had a college degree, but
I don't know. Is there any crazy stories about this agency lately? I'm not seeing it. If I'm missing it.
I've no, this is the first I've ever heard of it.
Yeah. It's a Defense Advanced Research Project. So they do like advanced technology stuff, I guess. But
Yeah,
I don't know. I googled it.
yeah.
I looked it up. I saw something. I saw Google.
Mhm. Cough?
Wait, no, hold on. No, I had to
Oh,
fix my
oh,
I had to fix my phone.
oh.
My phone started listening to me. Oh, you know why? That's crazy. I mentioned this defense agency, and all of a sudden my phone started activating and started typing what I was saying. It's hilarious. I looked over my phone. It started doing stuff. Thanks,
Mhm.
DA. Appreciate that, man. Great, great. I'm gonna get a knock at the door. And they can say, "What do you know about this defense agency? What are you doing? What are you talking about?" It's like the whole screen goes black. But yeah, no. So hold
Yeah.
on. He says the net was originally used for military communications only. It was then released to the American market. Google, Obama turning it over to the Brits. MI5. Okay. All right. Okay. If this okay. All right. So the Brits own the internet right now. I thought Al Gore created
Oh,
it. I thought Al Gore created the internet.
yeah.
Okay. So the Brits are in control of the internet. I don't know. That's going to kind of a surprise to Google, I think. Don't you think? I don't know,
Mhm.
but anyway,
Yeah.
okay, there we go. All right, go ahead and continue on, Mister Dirtbag, because it looks like that's probably like a whole story for like a whole episode, but I'm not sure.
Mhm.
Well, instead of me Googling it, DA,
Um.
just Google DA. Here's the deal. Instead of me Googling it, why don't you call in on the call-in number and you can explain it to all of us.
Yeah,
So we're not.
Da, come on, talk to us, brother.
Yeah, yeah. So we're not. I'm not going through the Socratic method of you asking questions and me looking for answers, and then me asking you about those answers. So yeah. So why don't you do that and then save us all the trouble? It's like here, Google this. Hey, Google yourself, buddy. you know, you know. If
He's
you
a.
if you if you
Mhm.
know something, call it in and tell us.
Mhm.
Then we can discuss it. I was like, I'm sitting here on the internet trying to figure all this shit out. But anyway, go ahead. Go
Mhm.
ahead. Go ahead,
You, you
Mr.
know,
Dirtbag.
you know, Carl. It's it's nice to know there's still good people out there and good patriots. You know what I mean? I mean, it's sometimes we all get frustrated with each other, but when we start acting like how the far left act, that's when we lose our humanity. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
like it's funny. It's funny because I don't. I bet nobody's ever talked about this before, but um, did you ever wonder why Lord of the Flies was one of the most mandatory read books in school? Because it teaches all about tribalism. It teaches all about survival of the fittest type mentality,
Uh-huh.
and I mean it's a graphic book. It's a very graphic book.
Right.
And it's like one faction of one faction of individuals versus another faction of individuals, and it's like it's like that the seed of tribalism is implanted in the minds of those in middle school, and it's like, I mean, you read the book, it sticks with you, it really does. I mean, I've never seen the movie or anything, but reading that book is like, it's my God, how could because it's almost, it's true human nature almost. I mean,
Right.
it's
Well, it just shows like the
and it's
breakdown of society. What could happen, if the shit hits the fan, and that kind of
yeah.
thing. So yeah, I mean, I could
Mhm.
see that. It's kind of like,
Mhm.
let's see. Let me pull up the American flag behind us. We'll get a little American flag here. Let's see. Ta-da! The American flag. We got American flag
Cool.
behind us now. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
awesome, cool.
In fact, we can even do
But
the moving American flag. Look at that. There we go. See? Ta-da! But okay.
awesome.
But no, I agree. In other words, we do have to look, that's the whole trick. Okay, except for the few nutcakes like the guy in El Paso. Now, the kid at the Garlic Festival. Did anybody ever explain his motivation? What his deal was? I mean, the Garlic Festival. It's Northern Cal. It's a real laid back place. I don't know if you've ever been to Northern Cal. We used to go there quite a bit actually. Northern Cal is a very laid
Mhm.
back place. It's very easy going. You got these little farming communities up there, mixed in with some tourist places and along the coast, and it's just a really cool place to hang out. You got a lot of people who smoke weed. When I went up there last time, I was the only person there who wasn't smoking weed. Literally, I mean, I was it. I was
Mhm.
the only person there. So I mean, it's a really laid back kind of place, and you know, I don't. Did anybody find out what his motivation was? The guy at the Garlic Festival who shot up the Garlic Festival. Did anybody figure out what he was wanting to do?
I don't. I don't think so. I don't.
Okay,
I don't.
well, yeah, because
I
I,
don't.
I
Yeah.
have no idea. He goes to the
Mhm.
garlic festival again. Who doesn't like garlic? I mean, what was he against garlic or
Mhm.
something? I mean, I hate garlic. His mom used to make him eat garlic when he was a kid. I mean, the kid looked about, like I said, he looked about 14, 12, 14 years old. So I mean, he looked like a
Mhm.
little kid. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
you can have
if
those
you
few
if you.
nutcakes. You can have those few nutcakes. Now the point is that the adults in the room, and I kind of put this in the
Mhm.
description. Meanwhile, in adult land, I said the economy's doing really good and things are working out good right now. So I mean, the adults in
Mhm.
the room need not to be knee-jerk reaction and acting emotional with showing low impulse control. Okay, especially people
Mhm.
who are elected representatives. In other words, part of a representative democracy is that you elect people so they don't act all crazy. I mean, they don't get all
Mhm.
emotional. I mean, we can do that ourselves. We elect these people so they sit
Yeah.
back and think for a few minutes and go, okay, what's best for the country, not just what's best for the second.
Mhm.
Because anytime you make a decision what's
Yeah.
best for right now, it could be bad for later.
Yeah. You know that video that Tony Patriot released on his channel, where the New Jersey Democrat was, I guess they were trying to get votes to pursue a lawsuit against Governor Murphy, I believe. And from what I've seen, it seems like this Democrat is actually sincere. When I went back to watch that video, because this guy was, I mean, like I said last time, if he was a good actor, he put on a heck of a show because I don't think he was acting. I think he was probably. I think you're going to start seeing, and I hope you do. I hope you start seeing more Democrats like this guy start speaking up against these people who are literally putting their citizens in danger by making it hard for their law enforcement to cooperate with ICE agents because the as the I don't know the guy's name. I should have probably looked up the guy's name before I brought him up, but anyway, it's on Tony Patriot's channel, um, and he was basically like, well, officers have families too, and you're putting their lives in danger. And it also brings me back to the video that Liberty, what was it? Liberty, Caitlyn Jenner, I think it was Caitlyn Jenner, was interviewing this like really really far left individual, this girl, and she just like she's like, well, these families are being separated, and you can't tell me that these aren't concentration camps. I don't know if that was word for word what she said, but I know that she was screaming and all emotional. And as soon as Caitlyn Jenner tried to talk to her, she takes her fist in her hand. She's like, I don't give up, not even letting Caitlyn Jenner speak.
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, how come this kind of reaction isn't shown for families, especially in minority communities, who when let's say when somebody goes to jail for a drug charge or a drug crime, how come the white liberals aren't protesting that? Why aren't they trying to push for you know legislation or you know programs? Like I said, I have respect for liberals who put their money where their mouth is, like the Hody family, like the Simon Hody family that I was mentioning that one time on your show when I called in last time. you know, they walked the walk. They didn't just talk the talk. And if Brian Cole Fosh can start a GoFundMe to build a wall, a liberal can most definitely go on GoFundMe to try and create some kind of an organization or a nonprofit. like in the same manner Colfage did,
Yeah.
and do something about the illegal immigrants. I mean, if your heart is in helping these people, well, find out what you can do to go down there to the border, volunteer your time or donate, and do something about it. Don't just
Or better
tell
yet,
me that I
or
gotta.
better yet, go down to their country
Mhm.
of origin and see what you can do to help them out down there. I mean,
Yeah.
if you really like these people, you say, hey, I really love these people. I want to help them. Well, these people, I'm sure they're not jumping up and down about having to move and leave their family and their
Mhm.
friends behind. I'm sure they're not like, "Yay, I'm leaving my family and my friends behind. I'm leaving my mother and
Mhm.
my father." These are
Yeah.
very family. Remember, these are Latinos. These are very family-oriented people, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like
Mhm.
Italians. Like my family, Italians, when I was growing up, very family-oriented
Yeah.
people. So I'm sure if they could say, if you could create a situation in their country, I mean, not as good as the United States because nobody else is,
Mhm.
but decent, nice, good free market economy where they have jobs and growth and stuff. Go down there and help out with that. Go down there. Now it takes a little more time and effort because you got to
Mhm.
create like kind of a political atmosphere for like free market economy, and you got to bring some experts with you and spend a few bucks and some time, or maybe help them out
Yeah.
down there, maybe
Mhm.
provide some food and something in the meantime till things kind of transition. But if these people, I'm sure they're not like they wake up and they go, boy, I can't. I'm really happy about leaving all my friends and my family in the village I was born in behind, or the city I was born in behind, to go to a foreign
Mhm.
place and start a new life. I'm sure if they had opportunities in their own country, they'd be more than happy to stay there. I mean, those countries
Mhm.
are
Yeah.
beautiful. I mean, there's trees,
Yeah.
there's water, there's ocean. I mean, there's
Mhm.
lakes. I mean, there's rivers. I mean, it's really nice.
Mhm.
Then you come up here and
Well.
you live in New Mexico in the desert. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
we're Las Vegas in the desert.
I.
Okay,
Mhm.
shit.
I don't. I don't know if I don't know much about the economic situations down in the South American countries, but from what I understand, they rely heavily on trade with Brazil and Mexico. I mean, I don't know how much they trade with us, but it's like like right now, Pete the Patriot. It's interesting because Pete the Patriot was talking today about how China was some. I didn't see it. I got to go back and see the video said, but I guess China was media outlets were weighing in on white supremacy in the United States, and I'm like, what is China? Why would China even be bringing up white supremacy?
Well,
I mean,
because they're trying to cover for their own shit. I mean, you have Chinese
yeah,
supremacy, like you said.
yeah,
They have freaking concentration camps with over 1 million Muslims locked up in them.
yeah,
Re-education camps, if you will, not concentration.
yeah,
Re-education camps. They got people locked up. They go into these towns and they just take everybody out of it and they throw them into a camp. I mean, so of
yeah,
course they're saying, "Oh
yeah,
yeah, look at America with those crazy white supremacists. Oh, that's a really
yeah,
terrible thing." Meanwhile, you can't sneeze in China without asking permission first. And if you don't happen to be Chinese, you're screwed. And if you're a
yeah,
Christian or a Muslim or Jewish or anything, you're screwed. And if you're Muslim, you're really
yeah,
screwed. So, but I mean,
yeah,
oh yeah, look at those terrible Americans. It's like, well, wait. I
yeah.
mean,
I
and then
mean,
of
it's
course,
like,
well, they know our media will eat it up because our media is going to say, "Oh yeah,
yeah,
we're awful," and they want to ignore the Chinese story and they want to just focus
hmm
on the evil, the white supremacists behind every corner. Like there's some like they're imagining there's some kind of movement. There is no white supremacist movement. There's some
yeah,
nutcases
no,
here and there, like a
yeah,
few over here, a few over there, a couple over there, but there's a
yeah,
few nutcases everywhere. You pick a political philosophy that you're interested in. You're gonna find some
yeah,
anti shit. You got Antifa on the streets running around hitting people with batteries and brass knuckles, and even
hmm
showing them off on TV. Oh, these are my brass knuckles, and the guy's like, oh, those are nice. It's like
hmm
really. I mean, and then
yeah,
going around, throwing milkshakes with cement, liquid cement inside of it
hmm
and shit.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's real. That's really happening. That's like right now. And
yeah,
you're worried about a couple of white
yeah,
supremacists here and there, but you have large groups of people going through the streets of any given city at any given time, beating people up. You know,
hmm
that's like right now. That's like in your face
hmm
here, and you have the mainstream
yeah.
media covering for them, saying, "Well, there are good people in there." I mean, well,
Oh yeah, yes.
that's like Trump saying, there are good people in Charlottesville. It's like, well, they'll say, well, there's good people in Antifa. No, there aren't any good people in
hmm
Antifa. These are all paid losers. They get paid to be there to be the brown shirts to go around beating people up and scaring people. That's what they
Yeah,
get paid to do.
yeah.
You know.
Well, the who? Oh, did you see that video? I think it was Brand. That's the point with Brandon. where he was actually literally like taking on 4 or 5 guys at one time. And he actually called into the Trump Party guys show during one of his live stream, or I'm sorry, the Angry
Up,
Republican.
got
Now it's
a
the Angry
hold on.
Republican.
Got a call coming in. Hold on.
Oh, cool, awesome.
Hold on. We're back.
Uh,
Okay.
was it was it a
Was it a
what do they
troll?
call those creatures?
A
Yeah,
troll? It might have
yeah,
been a troll. I will never know because he never. Remember, you could hear him. You hear me saying hello, so he wasn't
yeah,
answering. It was just some guy who wasn't answering the phone. So I don't know who it was.
yeah.
But
You know, mhm.
up. Okay, we are back on, and we have D.A. Archer on the phone. So, D.A. Archer, how you doing, man?
Not too bad. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right. So,
Good, good.
yeah, tell us about this Defense Department thing and everything that you were writing about in the chat. Give us some 411 on that.
Okay, so now I imagine Effie would probably be a really good person with this too. So it's not like total internet control. There's originally the U.S. developed it. You know, it was originally by the military for communications, and then it was eventually released later. So what Obama was trying to do is he was trying to release some of the key infrastructure things that we still maintained because we didn't own the whole internet anymore once it got loose to the world, right? But
Okay.
there's some key things that we did maintain, and that's what he he uh, he ended up handing over because of God, man, it goes the wormhole goes deep, but pretty much it goes way back to after the Second War and MI5 being real close to it was OSS before it was the CIA, and so basically what it came down to is you can't say, "Are you spying on us?" and they can in good conscience say, "No, we're not now, because we are not in control of that stuff that they used to spy against us." So basically, it's just a routed intelligence network through MI5 back to the U.S. is basically what's happened.
So
And
okay,
so that's what Obama took a bunch of grief for.
okay, so basically our Defense Department. Okay, I'm still mixing the nexus. Okay, so like we have
Mm-hmm.
this DARPA program that works under the Department of Defense, and he
Mm-hmm.
somehow he gave control of that over to the British, to MI5, or it's like a mutual thing that we're
The
working
key,
together on, or what are we doing?
I think it's still what we're working together on, because MI5 and our intelligence community still to this day, since the end of the war, has had a huge office in New York together. And they're obviously the countries are extremely close. So it's not technically the military or DARPA being in control of it. DARPA is the research and program agency for the military, right? They're the ones that make all the advanced robots and stuff.
Oh, they
And
are.
then once it kind of gets, they kind of get all the bugs and kinks and ideas going, and then it goes into production somewhere else. So so basically, it was released to the U.S. The U.S. had still some major holdings, and at the time, what Obama was doing a lot of controversial wise is he was giving more government overreach into our personal lives without actually saying it's not us, it's somebody else, and that was their way around it. So they could have MI5 look at everybody and kind of still do a little more things that they weren't able to accomplish, I guess, if you would say.
Right. No,
So
it's like in other words, they
just
could
a
farm it out to
Yeah.
farm it out to the British, so they wouldn't have government oversight, congressional oversight here. The British were doing it, and of course, the British weren't overseeing what they're doing over there because they weren't doing it to the British people. So it was a way
Yeah.
to kind of sneak through the
correct,
jurisdictional oversight.
correct.
The British didn't give a shit what they were. Plus, they were getting paid, I assume, by us to do this stuff, right?
Exactly.
Right, so they didn't give a
Exactly.
shit, right?
Exactly.
And as long as they weren't doing it domestically for their own people, the British didn't care. Then, of course, since the Brits are doing it, we have no oversight of what the Brits are doing because the Congress is too stupid to say, "Oh, by the way, did you farm something out to the Brits?" What? That kind of
Yeah,
shit. Nobody asked the
exactly.
question, right? Okay.
Well, it's like, did you
Exactly.
see
It
like
becomes a
when
big convoluted hole.
yeah. Well, it's like what was it when Fast and Furious happened, right? The way Eric Holden was like clearing his throat like every single time he was asked a question. You could tell he's looking for words to say right on the spot. You could tell he's lying through his teeth. You know, when they were
Yeah.
questioning him in Congress. And I mean, it just I don't understand how these people think that the American people are this dumb. I mean, well, let's face it, a lot of us don't know what's going on,
I
so
don't think it's dumb. I
it's
think it's
like
lazy.
that's how they were easily able to get away with half of the stuff that they've been getting away with. And now you got China, working with big tech companies to try and literally influence our elections. I mean, no, they want to blame everything on Russia, 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 Russia,
Well,
but yet, what about
well,
China? I guess,
you mean
everybody thought that. What's up,
you had asked a
Archer?
question earlier about the Chinese internet, and yes, Google is extremely heavy into China,
Oh
and
yeah.
part of the big
Yeah,
problem there
yeah.
is that Google is. But if you, Carl, maybe something for a future date, because like you said earlier, this could go in a very interesting way. But they're the head CEO for Google now is Regina, and she was the head of DARPA for years.
No
And so
shit.
Google and DARPA go
Wow.
Google and DARPA go hand in hand.
Oh,
And they're
wow.
kind of one and the same in a lot of circles.
Wow.
So, and I think date wise, if you look around, probably August 2016, probably in the British press, you'll find something about that somewhere around there. I think
So,
it was August 2016. So, but yeah, it's a big convoluted. I mean, big convoluted wormhole.
so
But that's what I was trying to
so was
let you know.
was the British press not happy with the fact that they were working on this whole thing with the evil CIA, the evil United States, and stuff like that? Was that their pitch they were making? Like, was it written by like the Guardian or something?
No, they were just. It seems to me that I just remember that they were kind of talking about the breakdown of what the U.S. was going to give control of, because a lot of times it's addressed in papers across seas because it's not addressed here, and I don't know specifically how all that shook out because I think there was a judge somewhere that got in the middle of that and had some sort of stay on that before the date that Obama wanted to turn it over. So I don't, that might be something that you might enjoy looking into, but that's a whole lot of crawling around for me.
Yeah,
And
well,
nobody
yeah.
cares, to be quite honestly. You know what I
Well,
mean?
the problem is nobody cares.
So,
It's hard to find any kind of stories written on it. That's kind of like a Greenwald kind of story. Uh, that
yeah, yeah, yeah,
he would probably
yeah,
start getting into. The problem, he's a little busy right now. He's worried about the Brazilian government cracking down on him and shit because his husband is in the Brazilian parliament and his husband's causing the Brazilian president all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Well,
Brazil's going to be in for some
Mhm.
interesting changes. So, especially
Yeah.
with China coming in there so hot and heavy, like they're getting ready to.
In,
So,
in,
Well,
in,
the
in,
but
in,
Brazilian.
anyways, that was
Mhm.
no, the Chinese
what's
are
that?
coming in. The Chinese are coming to South America hot and heavy, or to Brazil specifically, or
Oh
where the.
yeah, yeah. I think Brazil was one of their first buys of that $50 billion or what they spent in there. Yeah, I think that's where they originally started at.
Hmm.
So, and that was,
Well, it was
I
like
think that was
China.
around
China was supposed to buy up. Mhm.
2012.
Yeah, go
Well,
ahead,
they
D.
weren't buying too much here. They were giving it to them.
Right.
So we were handing it to them, hand over fist.
Yeah, go ahead, Great Dirtbag. You're about to say? What were you saying?
Oh, yeah, because China was supposed to buy up a lot of our debt too, but they ran into some problems, and I guess they weren't able to. Because I don't know, weren't they starting to buy some of our debt? I mean, they were starting to call in some of their debt, but it seemed like they ran into some problems of their
Well,
own.
they were the world's number one purchaser of our national debt. But the problem was is they weren't happy with getting just paper, and they started wanting land. They wanted a tangible
Hmm.
asset they could have because paper wasn't cutting it. And so that's whenever we started giving them pieces of property here in the U.S. And 7
Hmm.
out of the 10 biggest ports in the world are all under Chinese control. All of the major ports in California are Chinese owned.
Oh, really? Like Long
So
Beach?
they definitely
Wait,
have a lot of holdings.
you mean like L.A. Long Beach? That's Chinese controlled?
Yeah, yeah,
No shit.
they own it all.
I did
Oh
not know
wow, I
that.
never, I never
Yeah,
knew that.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
did
I
not
didn't
know
know that
that.
either.
Shit.
Yeah, Obama gave them a
Wow.
lot. Yeah. Well, they weren't getting, I mean, and realistic, I mean, you think about it, they were just, what's notes of paper? That's what our reserve has been passing back and forth. It doesn't mean anything. So, and that's where they said, hey, if we're going to keep sucking up your guys' national debt, we want something that we can say is worth something. And Obama administration went for it and started giving them property.
Well, I did
So,
not know. I did not know
Yeah.
about L.A. Long Beach Harbor that was run and owned by the Chinese. I mean, I'm just learning that now. That's crazy.
yeah.
Wow, I never knew
Yeah,
that.
I'm gonna have to look. I don't know whether it's a shell house company, but whenever I was running around on Chris Yan show there for a while, we had dug into some of that a while back, and a lot of that stuff is just convoluted too. You know what I mean? It's surround yourself in circles chasing your tail kind of deal. So, I mean, they don't like to admit to those kind of things, but things like that are happening. So.
Wow. Well, shit. Well, Tucker's been the only person out there covering, China, and he's had a lot of good guests on. He had a pretty good guest on the other night, talking about, hey, is this wrong what we're doing for the tariffs? And this guy who's like the premier expert, one of the premier experts on China, is like, no. And he said, is this going to cause a trade war? And he goes, the guy started laughing. He goes, no, we've been in a trade war. We just really haven't. We really didn't know it. The Chinese have been fighting a trade war with us for the last 25 years, just that we haven't been fighting back. And now this is the first time we're actually fighting back, saying, well, no, we're not going to take this anymore, because, HW, he put the thing together to begin with, and then Clinton, doubled down on it. Then George W., he said, yay, and then Obama said, yay. And now if one of those guys would have put the brakes on it just a little bit, tap the brakes even, just tap the brakes, show the lights, it wouldn't have to be so drastic now to try to get control of this. But now we got to take these drastic measures. And the Chinese are hoping that it looks like they're trying to wait out 2020. And Trump's like, well, screw you. If you're going to wait out 2020, you're going to pay us some money in the meantime, have some more tariffs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Chinese are still hoping that somebody can beat Trump in 2020. Oh, sorry.
No,
well, yeah,
go ahead.
It's definitely worth the money for them to try, DB. It's definitely for them, to definitely try and wait and see. I mean, the worst that can happen is they get somebody like Hillary in there that wants to, bang guns and do everything the Chinese want to do and give them everything they want to give. So it's definitely worth a try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the Chinese are looking for somebody they can buy. They absolutely could buy Clinton. They know that. Any Clintons are for sale.
Yeah.
Anybody can buy them. So I don't know. And Biden has done a bunch of business. His kids does business with China too. So they know they can buy him in 2 seconds. So yeah, I can see they definitely get a better deal from say Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton or anybody else.
You know what's interesting right now? It seems
they could have got Hillary Clinton in there. Sorry, DB, but just real quick, if Hillary would have gotten in there, I don't know if you remember this, Carl, but it was Bill Clinton who ran around thumping the World Trade Organization to get China into the WTO, and so if Hillary would have been in there, they would have been buddy because he was already bought and paid for once. You know what I
mean?
Yeah.
Right, and they would have just
because they were. Yeah.
Yeah, they would have just kept throwing more money at him. More speaking tours, more speaking fees. It would have been a whole issue. Can a president's husband do speaking engagements overseas? Can he get paid? The whole, it's a blind trust, separate property, blah, blah, blah. It would have been all those crazy. Well, actually, there would have been no discussions. There would have been no emoluments issue. Everybody would have said, oh, just fine. It's the Clintons. No big deal. Nothing to see here. We don't care. But if some Chinese guy stays in one night in a Trump hotel somewhere, then it's like, oh my God, look, they're trying to pay off Trump, that kind of shit.
Yeah. Well, it's funny.
They're definitely going to go ahead.
Yeah, Oh no, I was just gonna say because they it's like when they blame natural disasters on Trump. Like they think the left was calling it. What was it? They were calling it karma for voting for Trump. States that were heavily hit by these hurricanes, and now it's like they've, nothing matters to the regressive left anymore. I mean, you could give them a pile of money, and they're gonna act. They're just gonna sit on their high horse. And we got to defeat Trump. We got to defeat Trump. And I say it all the time, but make no mistake, the left is gonna come out in force on 2020 to vote for whoever the primary is going to be. And you can have anybody on that primary ticket, and just the fact that it's not Trump is going to be enough for the left to come out and vote for them. I mean, I think I'm guessing either Biden or Warren. I mean, I could be wrong on that, but I don't think Kamala Harris is, because see, even if they put Kamala Harris on a vice president ticket with Joe Biden, Kamala Harris could potentially take votes away, or I'm sorry, it could still potentially not get Biden some votes because right now Kamala Harris, from what I've seen, is not doing too good in the polls. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard ripped her a new one. I mean, she ripped her a new one, probably did more damage than what they're letting on. to Kamala Harris's chances of winning a primary. But it would definitely be because it's like Disabled Vet said on your last show on your show last time, Carl, when he called in. Whoever they nominate as Joe Biden's vice president, if he wins, the vice president is the one who's going to take over. It's not going to be Joe Biden in office for long. They'll find some way to get rid of him, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like I was saying, if Kamala Harris, she's pretty savvy politician. If she's his VP, she'll 25th Amendment his ass as soon as she gets a chance. And of course it's not gonna be hard to show that he's got dementia, because she'll get the independent medical exam, she'll get some psychiatrists to check this guy out, and probably he's probably already been diagnosed or early onset. He's probably on medication right now, so it wouldn't be too hard to say, hey, I think he's lost it. Like, Trump mixed up Toledo with Dayton, but that was because the teleprompter, some idiot on the teleprompter put the wrong city in. But, Biden's at a fundraiser, and he says, instead of saying, El Paso and Ohio, he says Houston and Michigan. We grieve for the people in Houston and Michigan today. Well, I guess I'm assuming there's some people who died of natural causes in Houston and Michigan that day. So maybe that's what he meant. Maybe he knew some family or friends, but he just totally blew it. I mean, he's not all there. I mean, he just isn't. I mean, you can tell that, and I feel sad for the guy, but only to a point, because I'm kind of pissed off that if he knows he's got a problem and his close friends and family knows that he has a problem, it kind of pisses me off that letting this guy run for president and be commander in chief and have his finger on the nuclear button, if you will. That kind of pisses me off. That's like really selfish and self-centered beyond belief. If he knows he's not all there, the last place he needs to be is in the White House. Period.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's funny. I was trying to find out something today because there was a super PAC that the Mercers fund called Reclaim New York. Rebecca Mercer, I think, sits on the board of directors, I believe. And they're I guess they're kind of, I don't know if they're necessarily, if their efforts are trying to oust corrupt politicians or if they're just going after Andrew Cuomo. But some of the, it was the what was the PAC that ran the ad against AOC? Both PACs are funded by the Mercers. It was the Make Job Creation something. Let me see if I can find it. I'm gonna real quick. I'm gonna go on my. But the reason, the whole thing about this, about the Mercers is like, they seem like they fund these PACs that just there isn't much you find on them, because it's almost like whenever I try to Google search something on the Mercers, it's like I get something from like a long time ago. It's like you can't really find anything on them, I mean, again, they don't talk to the press much, but it's almost like you can't find anybody that's pro-Trump is okay. Like, see, like right here, the shadowy conservative group has started a billboard war with AOC. I know I've covered that many times before in your show, Carl, but this article is hold on, my laptop is running slow. It's like the visitors to New York Times Square saw a new billboard earlier this week spelled out the jobs, wages, and economic activity in New York potentially lost due to the Amazon pullout. Thanks for nothing, AOC. It's sponsors as the Job Creations Network, a conservative advocacy group led by the CEO of some of the country's largest retailers. But this is also a group that the Mercers put money into. I don't know if they're still, I don't know if those signs are still up or not, but this was early this year when this was going on. But it's funny. Okay, yeah, because AOC even in her tweet, I'm going to read her tweet. Few things effectively communicate the power we've built in fighting dark money and anti-worker policies like billboard-funded groups blowing tons of cash on whack billboards. This one is funded by the Mercers. Now, this is the first time I have ever seen a progressive or a Democrat call out the Mercers. I have never seen, this is like the first and only time I've seen this. But, it kind of goes back to, okay, they even show a picture of the billboard. But to me, it kind of goes back to the notion, like I was saying before, Carl, the ones that the left cannot touch are the ones that are in control. So it seems like whatever the Mercers and Trump are planning or whatever they've got going on seems to be working to some degree, because like I said before, if Mueller was investigating everyone close to Trump, I guarantee you, I'm almost willing to bet he looked at what the Mercers were doing, but obviously couldn't touch him because, the Mercers probably have a pretty powerful legal team of their own. I mean, they have the capital and the money to basically fend off attacks from the left,
Right.
But again, it's unclear what they. It's kind of unclear what they want, and I've always been fascinated by the fact that what is it that the Mercers want, But I've also said before, whatever they got planned has got to be better than what Soros and his cabal have planned,
Right.
I mean, it's, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go off.
No, not at all.
But
yeah, and I guess you guys saw this story. Castro campaign posts the target list of Trump donors in Texas. Did you guys see that one?
No, I didn't. But this looks interesting.
Yeah, it's Julian Castro or whatever his name is, the guy that's in Congress. The other one's running for president, one's still in Congress. And what he did was he posted on a Twitter feed. He posted the names of. He goes, here are the list of people in San Antonio, 19 people who donated the max to President Trump. And here are their names, and here are the people they work for, and here are some of the companies that.
Oh, he's doxing them.
Yeah, he doxed them on Twitter, and so I mean, obviously, what's he want people to do? Get fired, or have people do violence against them, go look for them and stuff? I mean, he gave the names, the name of the employers, and everything, saying these are the evil people that are calling that are allowing immigrants to be called invaders, and he put it up on Twitter.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Oh yeah.
I don't do Twitter.
Oh well, no. I don't do Twitter either. It said Tucker Carlson covered it tonight.
Yeah.
And then the Washington Times got a story on it here. It's on your YouTube screen right now if you see it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah.
Well, see, what's. Oh, go ahead, DA. I'm sorry.
Came on. What's that, DB?
Oh no, I was just going. I didn't want to interrupt what you were saying. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just taking a look at it. I was just starting to do some late night stuff. I was getting caught up. I was out playing with my boys, so I'm running the day behind.
It's funny because like
I'm gonna get out of here, but hang on just a second, real fast. Boss. Hey, Carl, I was going to jump out of here, but if you got a Word document or something open, I'll shoot something to you, and you can copy and paste it and look at it a little later date. A couple of things for you to take a look at.
Yeah, just you know what? Yeah,
I called in for. So.
Yeah, just go and email it to me. Attach it as a. Can you attach it as a PDF?
Yeah.
Yeah, do that. Attach
a little bit more stuff for you then.
All right, man. No, it sounds good.
There's a pretty big wormhole there that goes, like I said, it gets pretty convoluted. The way all that works. So.
Yeah, I'll definitely take a look at that. All right, Mr. D.A. Archer, thanks for the phone call, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, it was great talking to you, DA.
Take it easy.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care.
Later.
And that was the great D.A. Archer on the phone call with the great dirtbag and Carl's opinion. And let me grab his name off of here. All right. So let's tell you what, great dirtbag. Let's go through this story real quick. Do you see it? It should be right on your screen. Good, very good.
Yeah.
All right. So good. Let's jump over here. All right. So Castro campaign posts target list of Trump donors in Texas. All right. So this is by the Washington Times. Dave Boyer. The campaign of Democratic Representative Joaquin Castro of Texas has publicized a list of San Antonio area residents and businesses who donated the maximum amount of President Trump's re-election effort, drawing accusations from the Trump campaign and numerous Republicans and conservatives of doxing, attempting intimidation, or worse. I think it's the worst part. And then this is what dumbass Castro put on Twitter. He writes, sad to see so many San Antonians as 2019 maximum donors to Donald Trump, the owner of at Bill Miller Barbecue, owner of the historic Pearl, realtor Philip Browning, etc. So in other words, he's calling out the name of these restaurants and these storefront businesses. I mean, that's just going to invite people to go there and start smashing windows and everything else. Mr. Castro's campaign account tweeted. Then he went on to say their contributions are fueling a campaign of hate that labels Hispanic immigrants as invaders. They're listing, actually, we're talking about illegal immigrants, okay? Illegal immigrants, not Hispanic immigrants, illegal immigrants from wherever. It doesn't freaking matter. The listing provided not only the names, but also the workplaces of the donors, prime information for what has become known as cancel campaigns or the doxing of people's private lives. Mr. Castro is not only the brother of faltering Democratic presidential candidate Julian Castro, but also his campaign chairman. In all, the campaign publicized 44 Trump donors from the San Antonio area. The Trump campaign said Castro was making them targets of partisan revenge. At the very least, Castro was inviting harassment of these private citizens, tweeted Trump campaign communications director Tim Murtaugh. At worst, he's encouraging violence. I think it's the worst part. Mr. Murtaugh asks, will media concerned about rhetoric care about this? He's listing people and their employers. This is a target list. Other Republicans furiously denounced the action, noting the Democrats regularly denounce the GOP as complicit in harassment and actual violence based merely on rhetoric and political criticism. Both of Texas' U.S. senators called on Castro to remove the tweet at a time of heated partisanship. Senator John Cornyn called the target list grossly inappropriate. Cruz said everyone needs to tone the hateful partisan rhetoric way down. This is wrong, and Castro should retract it. You know, one thing I saw on MSNBC when they're doing that stupid 2-hour special, DB, was they had this one guy, I can't remember his name, but he's like with Telemundo or whatever, one of those Univision, I don't know, one of those places.
Like when
Yeah, and they asked him,
I think it's like,
yeah, they asked him, well, are you upset, about, people being called criminals when they cross the border, well, they didn't say illegally, but when they cross the border illegally, are you worried about them being called criminals? And then, with this whole shooting, they all feel empowered that they can say, oh, this is terrible, we're patriots, and, this, that, and the other, we're not criminals. No, you are criminals, okay? You're crossing our country illegally. We said you're not allowed to come in unless you're part of this group of people, this number of people, this 1 million people that we let in every year. And if you come here and you're not part of going through the U.S. citizenship process, you're crossing our border illegally. And if you walk in and you fraudulently say you're seeking asylum when you really don't need asylum and you don't qualify as an asylum seeker to get into the country, then you're committing a second crime, committing fraud. Because all you're doing is looking to get in, get released, and then go hide out in the country and never show back up to court. And if people say, well, they didn't have the right address. Hey, you know what? I do a lot of criminal work in state court, and when you're in state court and you get arrested, they say, okay, what's your address? Because the court's going to send you a summons if we don't, take you in right now. And if they do take you in, the first thing the judge says, okay, if they release you, they say, okay, I'm going to release you. Okay, what's your address? And if you change your address, it's your duty, it's your responsibility to give the court your proper address, so that if we send you a summons to appear and you don't get it, that's on you. And everybody understands that. And then some people won't show up, and they'll say, "Oh, I moved," and the judge will say, "Yeah, I know. I issued a bench warrant to get you in here. They're in custody." He goes, "Well, we told you when we released you that you have to keep the court informed of your current address, and if you don't, then you're going to get a warrant for your arrest." Same thing. So these people, they get here, they give them some stupid address, then they split, and then they send them a summons, and they say, oh, you didn't have our address, no due process. No, it was due process. It's the responsibility of the defendant, or in this case, the illegal immigrant, to keep the immigration court apprised of their current address, so they can mail them notices.
Yeah.
So, they are illegal. They are breaking the law. They're breaking two laws when they fraudulently claim asylum, when they're not really seeking asylum, when they really don't meet the criteria for asylum. So, you know what? Screw them. So, but they're getting all wound up now. They think they think they have an advantage because some people got killed. Well, people get killed in this country every day. There were 55 shootings in Chicago just this last weekend. Where was the mainstream media talking about that? How many shootings and killings were there in Baltimore, or East St. Louis, or St. Louis, or Detroit, or Lansing, or Erie, or Niagara, or some crappy place in West Virginia? I mean, how many shootings occurred there? Is anybody talking about that? No. Or L.A., or San Francisco, or Seattle, or Portland? No. But, I mean, this is like a big deal, and then people say they can push some political agenda. Well, screw them, as far as I'm concerned.
And the other thing I'd like to ask Castro is, how did he find out the campaign contributions, and how did he know what they donated? you know,
Well, no,
because
that's public
that's
record.
kind of an.
No, that's public record.
Oh, it is.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh, oh.
If you donate to a campaign, that's why when
Mhm.
when I went to my first Trump rally and I was buying some hats and stuff, that's considered a
Mhm.
campaign contribution. So you have to give your name and your address and I forgot what else. Because
Mhm.
when I was buying the hats, I was down there buying some hats down there, and you have to provide all
Mhm.
that information. Same thing when you donate money, like to the Trump campaign, like when that text message. I don't know if you're signed up for those text messages, but when you donate money that way
Mhm.
too, you also have to provide your name and your address and stuff. Your information. So because yeah, they have to
Mhm.
disclose who their campaign contributors are. So yeah, if you donate to a campaign, it's
Wait.
public record.
Mhm. I was, you know, it's funny because I was actually, I donate to the NRA regularly, and I was actually, I've never really donated to the Political Action Committee before, but what's really strange, well, I won't say it's strange, but I guess it's something they have to abide by, but if you donate like, if you donate like a certain amount, I don't remember the amount. I think it was like $200. I think could be wrong on that amount, but anyway, if you donate like a certain amount, they have to ask you who your employer is. Now, I don't
Right.
have to answer
Right.
because I don't have to answer because if like let's say if the NRA has to make the effort, but I don't have to respond if I don't want to. Um,
Oh, okay.
because yeah, from what I that's what that at least that's from what I understand. I could be wrong on that,
Yeah,
but
I don't know because I just
uh,
write down. For me, I just write self. Because I'm self-employed.
mhm,
I'm a solo practitioner as an attorney. So I just write self
mhm,
attorney. You know. So,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, you
but
don't.
but
But yeah, but I guess those people wrote down their name and their employers. So then they listed, their names and who they work for. So I guess their employers
mhm.
could come down on their asses and maybe fire them or something. I don't know.
Yeah, see, and that law was passed, I think, by Democrats, or Democrats had a hand in making that. But the funny thing is, it's like, at the time, why would how come the NRA didn't fight this at the time? See, as much as I have defended the NRA, they need to get their antics under control. This. I mean, I'm not trying to ridicule the NRA because we need them. We need them right now more than ever. Because I guarantee you, if people can't buy firearms, they're not going to exist as an organization, you know. And
Right.
Gun Owners of America, I was talking to Gun Owners of America today. And what's interesting is like I think they're nonprofit, but they actually have like report cards that they give to about certain politicians, like where they stand on gun control. Probably guarantee all them Democrats have got Fs, but it's but I don't think Gun Owners of America has a legislative branch like the NRA does. But the NRA gets so much money from these gun manufacturing companies that they really don't need people like me to donate to the Political Action Committee. I mean, if say people who want to help the NRA donate through member services because right now the NRA, they're trying to drain the NRA of their resources. I mean, like right now you make a $25 contribution, that $25 is spent already. You can make a $5 contribution, it's spent already in some form or another because they're literally fighting legislation all over the country. You know, their political action committee is pretty good from what I've seen, but I mean, I don't really know much about the organization of the NRA. I just, I joined because I support even though myself I don't own a firearm, I support people having a firearm, and I understand why people have firearms. You know what I mean? It's just I've never taken up shooting as a hobby. It's not something that appeals to me. But
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
glad
no.
that
Yeah. I
people.
mean, right. If you don't want to own a gun, you don't have to. I like it for home
Mhm,
defense and personal protection. Again, I don't have time
mhm,
to work out at the gym 3 hours a day and then spend another 3 hours a day learning taekwondo.
mhm.
I don't have 6 hours a day to
Yeah,
do that. So, but
yeah.
I can go out shooting. Every couple of weekends. And then when you
Mhm,
first get a handgun, you want to take it out quite a bit. You want to put a lot of rounds down range with it to get used to it, to get that muscle memory going,
mhm,
so you know how it feels and where your targets are and how the sights line up. But
mhm,
I can I've owned firearms since I don't know, 9 years old. So I mean,
Mhm.
I'm used to firearms. I'm used to being around firearms. I feel comfortable with firearms. I had my first
Mhm.
handgun when I was 16 years old. So I'm very
Mhm.
comfortable and proficient in it. But if you're the kind of person
Yeah.
that's going to buy a gun then just like put it in the drawer and never practice with it, and not learn anything about it, then you probably shouldn't own one anyway because you're a danger to you,
Mhm.
your family, and everybody around you. Because
Yeah.
if you don't take it out, if you buy when you first buy a handgun, if you don't put it, you should put 1,000 rounds through it immediately. But if you can't afford that because ammunition is expensive, you need to put at least 100 rounds through that weapon, at least 100. I
Mhm.
mean, if you can't afford 1,000, fine, but at least get 100 rounds through that weapon, just so you know how it feels and how
Mhm.
you feel with it. You're comfortable with it, and definitely take some kind of a gun safety class or something, some kind of
Mhm.
training if you haven't been trained in it before. If you never owned a handgun before, don't get a semi-automatic, get a revolver. It's much
Mhm.
easier to use, much simpler to use, a lot less things can go wrong, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But revolver, you can get a good five
The
shot, six
mhm.
shot revolver. It's five good rounds all the time. Will never jam. Six
Mhm.
good rounds all the time, never jam. But but if you're not gonna train with it, then don't get one.
Mhm.
Don't get one.
That survivor that I talked to from Pulse. I know I mentioned her about her. I mentioned that about her on your show. When she was telling me about how because it was a life changing experience for her. I mean, she's now a supporter of the NRA, and she was telling me about I don't know much about guns, but she was telling me about like when she went for shopping for her first gun, she wanted something light to use, not something that was heavy, but something like kind of light, more for like because she had very petite hands. Her hands were very small. They weren't very. They weren't like she probably looked like she might have to hold a gun with two hands rather than one hand. And she was telling me about how she goes to the range about maybe about she tries to get about like maybe 12 hours a week at the range at the
Oh,
most.
really? Oh, she goes to the
But
range like 10
yeah,
hours a week. Oh, that's good.
that's
Wow.
what she told me.
Well, that's a
Yeah,
lot. I
that's
mean,
what
I
she told.
I, I don't do
Yeah,
that. Even I don't do that. I don't do 10 hours a week at the range. But yeah, if
yeah.
she's doing that, fantastic. I mean, that's great. You can't
But
spend too much time at the range.
yeah, but I mean, I don't talk to her anymore. We just had that long conversation in the parking lot that day when I spoke to her, and I mean, it was really interesting because I very rarely have I talked to anybody with life changing experiences like that. Like she didn't really like come out as conservative, but I think she was starting to see things more from a conservative point of view. But it's sad that it took it's sad that it took a life altering event for her to open her eyes. But I'm not criticizing her. I'm not but that's the thing that we're trying to avoid is to try and change people's minds before the you know major life changing event happens.
Right.
And that's why that's one of the reasons why I joined Parlor, because I'm growing very fast over there. I try not to throw too many one liners out there, but I need something to get people's attention. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Well,
it seems
it's
like
no. Go ahead.
huh? No,
No, go
it's
ahead.
funny because it seems like the one-liners are, like I get votes on them. Like there was one time I logged into my Parler account, I saw like 50 some notifications I got, and they were all from just different comments that I had made and all that. And I'm like, guys, it's like I haven't even been on there this long, and I've already got almost 1,000 followers. But the thing is, we need to get on these alternative social media platforms. So in case, let's say, somebody on the left want to see something different, they have somewhere to go. I mean, like I said, I've had conversations with people center left who, are starting to see things a little bit, but I try not to hammer them with the truth, and I just put it out there. Let them absorb it. Let it sink in, because you're talking about years of brainwashing and conditioning that they've gone through, and people are very. And the thing that a lot of conservatives don't understand, at least from what I've seen, is that they want people to grasp the truth right then and there when they're talking, and it can't be that way. That's not how you
No,
get
it takes
people to
time.
see.
No, it takes
Yeah,
time. No, that's what
it.
I was, that's like
Yeah.
what I was talking about. Like us like YouTube hosts, like our platforms.
Hmm.
We can't
Yeah.
we can't be like degrading. We can't be disgusting and obnoxious because you don't want
Yeah.
people coming to your site. People like say middle of the road, moderates, independents, whoever, maybe people even center left. You want them coming to your site
Yeah.
and then you're so obnoxious and disgusting in their face and talking shit that
Yeah.
they leave. They don't come back. You want to have
Hmm.
you want to your site to be inviting to people of all political persuasions, whether it be now they're far left, they're not open minded. But
Hmm.
if you get somebody like center left, independent, moderate, even like center, like even left center, you know. But if you're just yelling and screaming at people and calling people names and being obnoxious, well, those people aren't going to come back.
Hmm.
Now you may get some good
Yeah.
clickbait, but
Hmm.
you're not going to what we're trying to do here is share information, share different points of view, and say, hey, well, what's your point of view on this? And maybe it's a little bit different than mine, but let's see if we can find some common ground.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the way to persuade people.
And mhm. And I think it's really interesting because right now it seems like right now, all right, let's look at the things that the concern see like me, like I said, I'm a moderate, but when it comes to certain things I lean right, certain things I lean left. I'm being honest about, and I'm not I never I understand why people are conservative, and I understand why people, why we have a constitution. And I made it a point to understand why we have a constitution, and I made it a point to understand why our founding fathers gave us the Bill of Rights that we have today to protect us from a basic tyrannical government. But when you have people who don't understand history and people who just, it's like
Well, people who
it's
don't
like
know
that.
history, people who don't know history,
Yeah,
that's the scary part.
exactly. Yeah,
I mean, Jesus.
yeah,
I learned a lot about history in elementary school than under junior high and high school. But I mean, these kids don't take history. They definitely, if they take American history, it's like, well, you people just killed all the Indians and enslaved a whole bunch of people, and you suck. I mean, that's the extent of their history
yeah,
lesson. That one writer
yeah.
that one leftist writer whose textbooks now find its way into all these different high schools and junior high schools.
Hmm.
I mean, that's the only history they're
Hmm.
learning is that, well, America sucks. Well, there's a lot more to it than that. We don't suck,
Yeah.
But I mean, that the whole point of
Well,
their
mhm.
guy's textbook is pretty much say America sucks, and that's all they know because they're kids and they're stupid.
Yeah. Well, mhm. Well, it's like too, like when I've, you know, I won't go too much into this, but when I've talked to this, I remember talking to this one guy, and I guess he left home because his parents were very, very hardcore religious, which is fine. I'm nothing against it. You know what I'm saying? But he was always brought up to believe that, if you don't live by the Ten Commandments and you don't live by the Bible and things, that you're going to basically burn in a sea of fire. And I'm like, you can't talk to people. You can't shove something down somebody's throat that they won't, that they won't accept, or they may not want to even look at. It's like when I see like, okay, like, so like what Derek Grayson, he has my ear when he talks. I listen, but when he talks about, you know um when he talks about, same-sex marriage, and I'm like, Mr. Grayson, I'm sorry, but what about their rights to happiness? I mean, I know you're not going to change his mind on that, and I'm not, and I wouldn't even try. I Derek Grayson is a wonderful, wonderful pastor. He speaks truth, when he talks about certain political issues. I mean, he's rarely wrong. He's rarely wrong, at least from what I've seen. But there are things that I just don't agree with him with, because if you want to be allowed to practice your beliefs, then allow other people to have their way and their beliefs. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
All right, hold
that's
it.
where we
Yeah,
have
wait.
to kind of.
Yeah, I tell you what.
Uh,
Yeah, hold on, because America.
oh, sorry.
American Joe brought something up, and in fact, I wrote it down. I wanted to talk
Oh,
about it.
American Joe. Hey, what's up,
Yeah,
brother? How you
no, there
doing?
was there was an issue like on MSNBC this week, and they were talking about, well, Texas is an open carry state, and
Hmm.
and even though it's an open carry state and has very little, if you will, liberal conservative gun laws that allows people to open carry and carry guns and stuff like that.
Mhm.
See, this guy was still able to do this big shooting in El Paso. And here's the
Mhm.
realistic issue on that. Like, Nevada is an open carry state. Okay, and I
Mhm.
open carry. I open carry, and I live up here in Nye County. We're a very conservative county. Now, when I go to Las
Mhm.
Vegas, that's Clark County. That's a very liberal county. That's a big blue county. Clark County, they're like the only county that votes blue. Well, Washoe County voted blue in 2016, but it wasn't by a huge percentage. Clark County is what carried the state for Hillary Clinton, and it also carried
Mhm.
our governor Sisolak into office, who beat Levitt. Okay, so Clark County is very blue. So, but when I go to Las Vegas, I open carry. And I always get asked by people, "Oh, did anybody say anything to you?" Because there's a stigma in society. We've created this stigma that if you're carrying a gun openly, that you must be some kind of a gun nut, or you're some kind of a John Wayne kind of person, or you're some kind of
Yeah.
a Don Quixote person looking to rescue some lady from harm's way. That you're some kind of an idiot. Basically. So there's a
Mhm.
huge stigma. So even though like in Nevada we have open carry, you have a lot
Mhm.
of people in Las Vegas who own guns, who believe in the Second Amendment, who won't open carry in Las Vegas because they're afraid of catching all kinds of shit about it. But I open carry in
Mhm.
Las Vegas all the time. I don't catch any shit about it. But I remember the first time I opened carry a couple of years ago, I was a little like thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be in Las Vegas. I got all these anti-gun leftists down there. Am I gonna catch any shit? Even I thought about it. Now I'll be honest with you, I didn't give a
Mhm.
fuck. I'm like, well, you can
Yeah.
you can
Mhm.
stigmatize me all you want, call me names. I don't care. I'm not going to go down there.
Mhm.
I'm not going to go down to Las Vegas, not have a gun on me, and somebody robs me, and I'm like, oh Jesus, I could have had my gun on me. No, I'm not. I'm not going to be that
Yeah.
guy, and I'm not going to tell that story. Whether I'm alive or
Mhm.
somebody's telling it for me. Oh, like yeah, Carl's dead. Oh yeah, he used to always carry a gun. I wonder why he didn't have his gun on him. Well, I don't want to be part of that
Yeah.
story. Okay, so I
Mhm.
mean I don't care, but a huge majority of people will not open carry in states where you're allowed to open carry because they're afraid of the stigma, they're afraid of the sneers, they're being afraid of being mocked or ridiculed, and they just don't want to put up with it.
Mhm.
So in El Paso, it's an open El Paso's in Texas. Texas is an open carry state. El Paso doesn't have any laws saying you can't open carry. And as far as I know, that
Mhm.
Walmart didn't have a sign saying no firearms. Okay,
Mhm.
Walmarts generally don't have that sign up unless they're stupid. So, but they don't.
Mhm.
So like
Yeah.
a lot of people probably could have been open carrying. I'm sure a lot of people who were there that day,
Mhm.
whether they lost friends or family
Yeah.
or not, were probably like, shit, how come I didn't have my gun on me? So when
Mhm.
MSNBC says, oh, look, they're an open carry state and nobody stopped this guy, see, a good guy with a gun won't stop anybody. Well, no, the good guys
Mhm.
who own the guns were not carrying their guns. Because I guarantee you,
Mhm.
if those guys were carrying their guns in that Walmart and this idiot kid walked in with his ear protection on, which you could have spotted a mile away, and, his pseudo AK-47 rifle. It's not an AK-47. It's like an let's see, like an MAK-90 or something like that. When he walked
Mhm.
in with that,
Yeah.
there were like four guys around with handguns. And they all saw this idiot with his, semi-automatic rifle in his hand. They just would all pulled on him and just,
Mhm.
blown him away. It would have been end of story. But I guarantee you, there were a lot of
Yeah.
people who left that Walmart that day who were like, shit, how come I didn't have my gun on me? How come I wasn't carrying my gun? Because
Mhm.
again, but they don't want to get mocked, they don't want to get ridiculed, they don't want to get stigmatized. They don't want to hear
Mhm.
about it. You're just, oh fuck it, I'm not going to carry it. But when I go to Vegas, I open carry my gun all the time. Now, if I'm in the courthouse, yeah, you can't
Mhm.
bring a gun to the courthouse,
Mhm.
can't bring a gun to the post
Mhm.
office, can't bring a gun, whatever. But I generally what I do
Mhm.
is I'll take my gun off and I'll just wear the holster, or I take the holster off,
Mhm.
whatever, clip it off, the whole 10 yards. But yeah, but
Mhm.
that was
Are,
the problem in El Paso.
mhm.
Even though it's an open carry state, and the
Mhm.
good guys with the guns didn't stop anybody, that's because the good guys were
Mhm.
not carrying their guns that day. That's why.
Mhm.
Now more people should.
Mhm.
If you believe in open carry, don't worry about what people are
Mhm.
going to say. If you know you're a good person, you're trained in your firearm, you know how to use your
Mhm.
firearm, you know the laws in your state when you can pull a gun. Because let me tell you something, even if you don't shoot somebody, if you pull your gun, if you're in a dispute with somebody, if you pull your gun out of its holster, that's a crime in many states. It's a crime in the state of Nevada. A lot of people don't know that. They say, well, I pulled my gun, I held it down on my side. Well, that's a crime right there. You just committed a crime. So, you got to know that you got to know your laws. If you go through any kind of CCW class in your state, concealed weapons class in your state, or any kind of firearm, a safety class in your state, you will learn those laws. I did the CCW class. I did the CCW class here in Nevada. It was an 8-hour class. It was very informative. There was a couple of things I learned. The guy teaching me the class, it was a one-on-one class. I said, well, I didn't know that. He goes, wait, you're an attorney? You didn't know that? I go, no, I didn't know that. And he was telling me stuff that I didn't know. So, I mean, it's worth, it definitely take even if you don't want to conceal carry, that concealed carry class we have in Nevada is worth taking. It's very informative. It teaches you stuff about firearms and safety, and then you have to go out to the range and do some shooting and stuff. But that's what happened in El Paso. I guarantee you, a lot of good people who own guns, who carry handguns at different times, were not carrying their handguns that day. And so the good guy with the gun bullshit story that they're saying, the good guy with the gun didn't stop them, because the good guys did not have their guns on that day. I guarantee you, and that's why.
There's one thing too that now R-rated conservative brought this up, and I'm glad he did, but it's something that I have thought of in the back of my mind for a long time, right? Like, now I'm not ridiculing anybody, but one of the things that I never understood is, because a lot of conservatives say, well, gun registration is wrong. Government shouldn't have the right. Okay, well, why are you posting pictures of your firearm collections on Twitter? See, I don't get that. An R-rated conservative, I mean, okay, because first off, let's look at what you're doing when you do that. The name is under the account's under your name. You're making it publicly known what you have. So basically by you putting your pictures of, holding your firearms, I mean, I get it. People are patriotic. They want to show their, I get it. I commend them. But, if you're worried about gun registration, don't put pictures of your gun collections on the internet. That is a good way to have leftist trolls flag your videos, maybe even, say whatever, who knows, but and I guarantee you that Facebook and Twitter leave those up on purpose so people know who has what, and and other ways to like, find out who owns what, what I'm saying? Because, you have I don't know if you have, well, you probably do have government agencies that are looking into this, and I guarantee you they're probably making a log on it while they're looking at it, I mean, if it's kind of like that old saying, best relationships are kept off the internet. They're private. The best, like the most happiest couples keep their lives private.
Right.
They don't advertise. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of that similar saying. I mean, the saying similar. It's like, you don't want the government to know what you own, then don't post it on the internet.
Right.
Again, it's like what we were talking about earlier in the show. When you make a video, again, just YouTubers in general. When you make a video that, I mean, point out Trump's mistakes, but don't say stuff like, well, I'm fed up with Trump, yada yada. Because if you do, you are giving ammunition to the left. Because I guarantee you, YouTube will let those videos, flow, because the left now has something to use, and they can, how do you know some leftist YouTuber says, well, here's a picture of this person saying they're not going to show Trump, because they're going to edit the video to fit their narrative,
Right. No, it's like when MSNBC will bring on like a quote unquote Republican to criticize Trump, and the guy's of course a rhino or never Trumper. Like Nicole Wallace has her own show. Yeah, she's a Republican in name only. She's a big Jeb Bush fan. She worked for him and stuff. So of course she hates Trump, but she says, "Oh, look, see, we have Republicans on the show. We have Nicole Wallace. She has her own show even, but she hates Trump with a passion because she was, pretty much in love with Jeb Bush for whatever reason. She got paid a lot of money from him too, probably. That's probably the reason.
Well, Trump knows how to manipulate the media. I got to get a better headset. I'm sorry, Carl. I know my earbuds slip out of my ear.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that, everybody. But no, I had to buy these real quick before I came home,
Wait,
but
hold it,
the
hold it, hold
the
it, hold it, hold it, hold it.
mhm,
Don't forget, go to Amazon, Amazon.com, where
mhm.
you can find great deals and savings. For $9.99 a month, you can become an Amazon Prime member and get all the great movies and old TV shows you could ever imagine, and free 2-day shipping. You can order something on Saturday and have it by Monday. Tuesday at the latest.
Yeah.
Amazon.com. Brought to you by Jeff Bezos. Oh, I got my 2% points off my next Amazon order. Yay! All right. There we go.
Cool.
Thank you. All right. Sorry, Mr.
But
DB. Go ahead.
no, it's all good. It's all good. But I mean, it's I it just in the whole thing about people posting pictures on of what firearms they own, the collection, and they got to be careful with that. I mean, if they have a private account, okay, fine. But if you're just gonna put it out there for people to see, don't complain about registering your weapons because you're practically doing that when you post pictures of your gun collection online.
Right.
I mean, it just doesn't. I mean, I don't know. It's.
Like all my guns were background check weapons or registered weapons. So all my guns are registered, through like if I bought them in
Mhm,
California through Department of Justice of California, bought them here in Nevada through
mhm,
Department of Justice in Nevada. They're all through licensed
mhm,
federal firearms licensed dealers. So I
mhm,
whatever. I mean,
mhm.
so
Yeah.
the weapons I own are all registered. They're all above board. So I don't care. I mean, I
Mhm,
don't mind posting them online and stuff. I know YouTube has an issue with people posting shit online with guns and stuff now, for whatever
mhm.
reason. But that's them.
Yeah.
They have an issue with it. Whatever.
And it's funny. Guns have made Hollywood so much money, and yet they're so anti-gun. It's like you know, hip, talk about hypocritical ideology. I mean, it's like you can't have an action movie without some kind of a firearm being shot off at, like whatever in an escape scene or, and it's funny because, in action movies, firearms don't really require that much special effects, when you're shooting an action scene like that with a firearm, but I don't know. Oh, Carl, real quick. There was something I wanted. If it's okay. I was hoping we could touch more on that. On some of the stuff like what was it? Because how we were talking about nobody's really talking about people who might be running after Trump, say conservatives running after Trump, and how they will be. The things that they would need to talk about in order to win over the conservative base and basically the moderate base. Like somebody like say like when I say Ron DeSantis, like I would prefer. This is just me. Like I said, I would prefer Ron DeSantis over Brian Kemp because Ron DeSantis, I think, could bridge the gap between the moderates and the conservative base. You know what I'm saying? Because
Oh,
there's no
like
way he would win the progress. Ron
oh,
DeSantis, yeah,
yeah, Ron
yeah,
DeSantis or what's that guy Brian Kemp in Georgia? You thinking too? Is that what you
yeah.
said,
No,
Kemp?
I
Yeah,
like Brian Kemp, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But see, what they would need to do, what they would need to do. Let's say, I mean, obviously, them getting elected to governor, they can prove that they have the experience necessary to possibly govern the country, right? The way that their voters would want them to do, right? Well, what would be the best things for them to campaign off of? Well, they could campaign on a lot of Trump's accomplishments. They could campaign on, maybe even create some of their own things that they think people might benefit from. Continue to have, like Ron DeSantis, he has a fairly diverse, I'd say a pretty diverse
Well,
administration,
every time like Effie's on or you're on, I always say, well, how's Ron DeSantis doing? Like, what's he doing in Florida? And like
hmm
nobody has an answer. Like, so I'll ask you, what's Ron DeSantis doing in Florida right now? Is he doing anything? Is he passed any new
Well,
legislation or anything like that?
um, I think last I heard he was trying to combat global warming. Hold on, let me see if I can find something. I should probably have stuff on Ron, when I come in, um, but see, he would, like he would be able to, like, say, um, well, let's say, well, I'll keep Trump's tax cuts and I'll find ways to, try and keep taxes low at the same time, maybe raise. Hold on, let me see if I find something real quick. I'm sorry, I don't mean to
Yeah,
jump around from.
because I'm really curious about him because I think he's definitely like we were talking, a couple of weeks
Mhm.
ago about up and coming rising stars in the Republican Party. Do we have
Oh.
anybody? Do we have anybody past 2024? And so you got
Mhm.
guys like Brian Kemp in Georgia and Ron DeSantis in Florida who like in their
Mhm.
40s. Late like
Mhm.
40s, maybe early 50s. Like these are guys
Yeah.
who, generationally speaking, 2024, 5 years from now,
Mhm.
they'll be in a good
Mhm.
age bracket to, and they'll
Mhm.
have some, they'll have some time as governor under their belt, being an executive, having executive experience, they'll be
Mhm.
in a good position to run. So, but I'm kind of
Mhm.
curious, like, they got to have a track record. They got to be doing something. They can't just say,
Mhm.
I was
Well.
governor,
Mhm.
but I didn't do
Mhm.
anything. You got to like,
I know that.
what are they
Mhm.
doing? I hopefully
I
they're
know
doing
that Ron
something.
DeSantis. Yeah. Well, I know that Ron DeSantis. I think he ordered a probe into Jeffrey Epstein's case, state to investigate Palm Beach County Sheriff's handling of Jeff Epstein. Okay, I got that a little confused. Sorry about that. But it seems like he's I know that he ordered law enforcement to cooperate with ICE. Um, I think they've gotten legislation to ban sanctuary cities, but here's the problem. You got Miami and South Florida that is very liberal. Well, I'm hoping Ron DeSantis will launch investigations into some of the corruption and some of the people that, are not that are making it hard for ICE to do their job. If there is, I'm not, I have to research that before I comment on it further. But
Well, I tell you what,
um,
hold on. You just gave me okay. Go on with Ron DeSantis, and then you just gave me a segue to our next story. So always with the segue
oh,
again. No. That's
okay.
awesome. That's
Sorry.
awesome. No.
Mhm.
Sorry, my ass. That's awesome. Go ahead, finish on with Ron DeSantis, and we'll segue to the next story. Go
But
ahead.
the Florida Department of Law Enforcement opened an investigation Tuesday into how Palm Beach County Sheriff and former state prosecutor handled Jeff Epstein's sex abuse case and incarceration more than a decade ago. Okay, so Governor DeSantis asked state police to launch the probe, which will focus on Epstein's plea agreement. See, that's good right there, the plea agreements, and prosecutors and work release program at the jail. The governor's move takes the investigation out of the hands of Palm Beach County Sheriff Rick Bradshaw. I've never heard of him, who led the agency with Epstein was a program. So I have to assume just from that Rick Bradshaw might have maybe, note the disclaimer, maybe, had was in Epstein's pocket or something, or maybe Epstein was giving him bribe money or something like that. Who knows? Who knows? But Epstein avoided serious prison time as part of a one secret plea deal, even though he faced accusations of sexual abuse from dozens of teenage girls in jail. He received a generous work release agreement, allowing him to spend up to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, working out of a downtown West Palm Beach office. Floridians expect and deserve a full and fair investigation, DeSantis said in a prepared statement. Yeah, I'd kind of like to know what Epstein was up to,
Well, obviously he had a
But
shitload of money. Well, here's like I was on information uh, show last night. The guy, one of our moderators
hmm
on here tonight, and what I wrote in his chat was that guys like Epstein and Weinstein, they not only have a shitload
hmm
of money, but they also, let's be honest, they were facilitating a lot of, pedophilia with their friends who were very powerful people. And so they know if they
hmm
prosecute like, Epstein's going to drop a dime on a lot of people, a lot of names,
yeah,
names that people don't want
hmm
out there. So he's like, yeah, so part of
yeah,
that, I'm sure part of that deal that was done, a couple of years ago was Epstein was because remember part of the deal they said was they would not go after any of his co-conspirators, which is weird because
hmm
why is Epstein
yeah,
insisting on a deal like that? Well, the reason for
hmm
that was because that was the whole part of the deal was that okay, look, Epstein's like, hey, look, my guy knows a lot of people, probably some of your bosses, friends, whatever, and if he goes down, he's going to take in some people with him. So that's why
hmm
they made the deal with him. So it wasn't just the money; it was just the fact that he's a pedophile and he facilitates pedophilia for rich and powerful people, and he probably has them on
yeah,
videotape or whatever as well, probably in
hmm
videotaping in the rooms and shit. So their faces are right there. So that's
yeah,
why they did the deal with him. And whether
Mm-hmm.
he's going to do that now, we'll see. We'll see where this
Mm-hmm.
goes. We'll see. I mean, a lot of light on
Yeah.
this, a lot of publicity on it, so they probably can't deal him out. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see what he does as his defense, because
I. Mhm.
he's not going down by himself. I know there's no way
I
he's going
would.
to say do
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. I would hope because the Mercers actually contributed about 25,000 to, or Rebecca Mercer contributed about 25,000 to Ron DeSantis' campaign. But I'm hoping that the Mercers will back DeSantis because I know if it wasn't for Kenneth Griffith giving DeSantis money, he wouldn't have been able to compete with Soros and Steyer lending Gillum all that money. And thank God Kenneth Griffith wrote that check for DeSantis. I mean, we have Kenneth Griffith to thank for getting Ron DeSantis elected, literally, and the DeVos family. Because they were the biggest. From what I read, they were the biggest contributors to his campaign here in Florida, running for governor. But see, but if he can do stuff like this, and he can show the people that he's getting things done, I mean, he's creating a portfolio literally to run off of if he does decide to run in 2024. Because I guarantee you, people like Oprah, people like you might even have some of these, Alyssa Milano or AOC run for president, in the future,
Oh,
because
yeah, see, yeah,
AOC,
AOC is like what, 29 or 30, so yeah, she's like
yeah,
five more years. Like, yeah, that might. I think she was born in 1989. She was
yeah,
born in either October or November of '89. So
hmm
35 in that is, well, I don't know what's 30 in. So let's see, 2019 and 5 is, yeah, 2024. So
yeah.
2024.
But
So
see,
she has to be 35 on January 20th or January of
hmm
2025. So you can run.
yeah,
You don't have to be 35 to run. You just have to be 35 to hold office. So she could run in
yeah,
2024. She could. I mean,
yeah.
whatever. But I mean, she'd be eligible to run in 2024.
But see, see the thing about AOC, she's got energy. She has personality. It may not be I mean, it's the personality we don't like, but
Well, no,
she has a
yeah,
personality.
no, I
I
agree,
mean,
and she's not very smart on the issues, but she can learn that
no,
if she
yeah,
I mean, she did go to school, so I mean, she could learn how to study, again,
yeah,
and then once she learns how to study again, then actually learn something from studying, so she could become pretty adept at issues in the next like 5 years. If she puts some real
yeah,
time into it. I don't know if she will. She's busy on
hmm
Twitter a lot, but if she puts some real time into
yeah,
learning the issues, if she puts some real time to learning the issues and actually working in that committee, committees that she's on,
hmm
and actually doing some real heavy lifting kind of work, real weeds kind of work, doing favors for other Congress people
hmm
in there. Like, okay, I'll do the research on this. I'll put my staff on it for you. I'll do this. I'll do this. That kind of shit. Then
hmm
she could become a different person with star power. She could be someone with half a brain. Right now, she has no brain.
yeah,
But to win
no,
to win an
not at all.
election like a national election, you don't need a full brain. You only need half a brain to win. Okay, so if she gets to
Yeah,
the half a brain part, you know, I'm not saying she'd win, but I'm saying she could at least be in the running. She could at least make a shot out of it.
yeah. Well, let's say because she would probably have. Let's say Ron DeSantis versus AOC, right? AOC would have a lot more of the younger vote than Ron DeSantis would. But see how many millennials would actually register to vote from now and then 2024? I mean, because let's face it, the older generation isn't. I mean, the younger generation does not register Democrat as they don't. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. They don't register Republican as fast as they do Democrat,
Right.
or they register Independent.
Right.
Independent is the largest voting bloc in the country.
Oh, I did not know that.
And
Really?
that was. I believe it is. I believe it is.
No shit. Okay.
Um, I think so. I could be off on that, but I believe Axel was talking about it one time, but I haven't seen the numbers. But from what I
Y-
understand, it is.
Yeah, you might be right.
Um,
You might be right. Or they might be
but
like, yeah, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry, Carl.
No, no, I was saying, because
Oh,
the only problem is you can't vote in the primary. So, but you could. I
hmm
don't know. Every state has their own rules as far as how often. Well, you can change. Well, you can change your status as
You can
Republican
change your party affiliation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you change that as many times as you want, but you got it. There's certain some states allow you to change it. There's certain time limits, like you can't change it within 2 weeks of the election or the day of, or I'm not sure what it is. But I mean, if you want to vote in the primaries or a caucus, like Iowa and Nevada, we're both caucus states. I'm not sure. Like you have to be registered by a certain date. I'm not sure, but you
Yeah, because they got to get you in the books.
Right, you definitely right. You definitely don't want to miss out. Like here, you can for change of address. It's funny because I had to do a change of address, and I went to the clerk's office, and they said, "Well, actually, it's faster if you do it online, and then if you hand it to us." And so sure enough, I did it online. It changed like literally. I got a verification like literally a minute later. It's like boom, here you go, done. That kind
Well, what's funny about like it's funny because like what was it? I'm trying to think of that was the whole thing about like mailing in ballots and the thing about like mailing in stuff. I mean, like me, I personally want to go to the polls and I want to see my paper go into that machine. I don't want to sit at home. I mean, some people do it. I'm not trying to criticize them. I'm not. But
primarily like they did that mainly for like older people. Or people who work full time. Like when you did not have early voting, mail-in ballots was like a lot of people did that. But I mean, with early voting, just about every state, very few states do not have early voting. Most states do. There's no reason to do a mail-in ballot. Okay. Why would you? I mean, because now, and then if you mail it in, some of these people they'll mail it in, they'll just put like regular mail. Well, I mean, shit. At least go to like get priority mail from the post office, or you don't have to go to FedEx or UPS. That's expensive, but you can at least get priority mail from the post office, so you have a tracking number and it went in. You can see when it got there, and if you want to have somebody sign for it, even better. But you can at least see that it got there. But then you got to make sure that they, it's kind of hard to make sure they counted it. I mean, I agree. I like going to the booth, pushing the button. In Nevada you have a machine and it's electronic, but you can at the end of it you can like hit a button and say show paper ballot, and it scrolls up and it shows you everybody you voted for, so you can see it that it actually registered in there. So Nevada, we have a really good system here. I mean, it works really good. We don't have a voter ID law, but the only time they ask for ID is if your signature doesn't match up to your signature when you're registered. Now, the problem with that is that, I don't know about you, but I sign my name differently from year to year to year. So, but the nice thing is when they show you your registration card, I go, oh, that's how I signed my name, 15 years, 16 years ago. So you got to sign it like that. Now, if the guy's not a handwriting expert, but he's sitting there looking at it, if your signature doesn't look the same, then he'll ask you for your ID. But that's the only time you get asked for ID in Nevada, is if your signature doesn't match up to the signature on record. And they have that right in front of them when you go to vote.
Well, most places, like when you write a check, you have to sign, obviously, signature. But what's really funny is a lot of places nowadays, they want you to print your name because I don't know if they teach cursive or not in school. I was never taught cursive. I can read cursive, but I can't write it. I mean, it's something they never taught me in school.
Oh, wow. We learned cursive for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can sign my name in cursive. That's because I taught myself. Well, I had people help me, but but see, because I guess the way that because nobody really signs their name the same way, signature the same way. You know what I mean? I guess when they look for patterns, they look for hand patterns and line patterns. I don't know. I'm not an expert on that kind of stuff, but see, when you have voter ID laws in certain states, like I know I had to show my ID when I went to vote. I mean, like I said, I took a few friends down to the polls. One of my buddies, he forgot his ID, so I had to go back to his house, and I'm like, no, you need to go vote. I will do this. Just don't worry about it, And I'm like, because trying to get people to the polls, and I'm actually trying to look at volunteering to drive people to the polls, and I'm having a tough time. But I'm having a tough time finding out the what you need to do. It's like I went over to a VA's office the other day, and I guess the guy was saying that they had all that covered. So I guess I have to try and focus more to where like maybe I don't know, like take out an ad in the paper or
No, no,
something.
no.
But
What I would do is go to your local, like your county Republican Party headquarters, and tell
yeah,
them,
that's
say,
what I
hey,
was thinking about doing.
yeah, and go over there and
Mhm.
say, hey, look, I'd like to be a volunteer for people that drive people to the polls if they don't have a ride.
Mhm.
I guarantee you, if you have a decent Republican Party, local Republican Party headquarters, a decent one,
Mhm.
they'll have
Yeah.
people that they know that can't, like, because when they call, they say, hey, are you going to vote? And the guy says, well, I don't have a ride. Then they should have a little listener
Mhm.
saying, well, we have people who will give you a ride to the polls if you need to get there. And
Mhm.
then, like, your
Yeah.
name and other people's names should be on that list. If you, again, if you have a local Republican Party that's not dysfunctional, a local county
Yeah.
party, a lot of these local county parties are
Mhm.
kind of fucked up. So
Well,
you
they're
don't know.
plagued with rhinos. I mean, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
it's like, I mean,
yeah, hopefully that wherever county you live in, then you
mhm.
can say, hey, I'd like to be able to volunteer for this, and I give people a ride to the polls. And so
Mhm.
when they make those phone calls to their phone banks, if somebody says, "Well, I don't have a car," they say, "Oh, we have a list of people right here. What part of town do you live in? That kind of thing." And they can kind of coordinate with it. And
Mhm.
they have your address
Mhm.
and stuff. And they say, "Okay, we have this guy. He lives near you. Let's see if we can hook you guys up." Hopefully they have something like
Mhm.
that. I mean, that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because you damn well
Yeah.
know the Democrats do that, and they bring people. They have
Yeah.
buses that
Well,
go
they bust
around.
people. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they have buses that go around, pick
I
people
mean,
up, and take them in. And you think like, well, we should, you know, one of the things that we were good at was organization. So you think like if
mhm.
we should at least be as organized as the damn Democrats are. If they have people be
Yeah.
able to
I
bust
think
people
they're
in,
getting. Yeah.
we should be able to do
Mhm.
that. You know.
Yeah. Well, I think the right is getting more organized. I mean, we're definitely getting it together. I mean, you have Brandon Straka, who's been an incredible, powerful voice in the walkaway movement. I mean, I
Yeah.
I think he's God bless Brandon Straka. He's a great patriot. I think he had his eyes opened. You know, and who knows? Maybe it's like Laura Loomer is running for office. I think she's trying to get the district where Mar-a-Lago is at,
Well, is she going
and
for
it's
Congress?
good.
Is she going for
I believe
Congress?
so. Yes.
Oh no
Yeah, I
shit.
saw it
Oh,
on
that's cool.
Parlor.
Oh,
I,
good
I
job.
echoed it. I echoed it in Parlor. Yeah. Um, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if David Clark or Brandon Strucker ran for office one day. And I think it would be fantastic
Yeah.
because these are the people that can rival the AOCs and the squad. The squad basically.
Right.
And I think Brandon Straka, he's got good energy. He's got a great personality. I mean, I mean, like when you watch him talk, he looks like a really cool guy to just, just hang out with. You know what I'm saying? Like, like just talk about life in general. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But you're starting to see more people come out of the woodwork. Like Derek Grayson was talking about the other day, how more African American people have been coming out in support of Trump since that tweet with Elijah Cummings. And then you see some of those videos. I've seen a few that have aired on YouTube where the like where people are like saying, Trump is right. This is, Baltimore's is basically a third world country, conditions, you know. And I'm glad because because in order to win the culture war like we do, we have to basically fight fire with fire. It's sad that it's come to like this, but this is how you kind of win this. You have to kind of use the left's tactics against them because when you have a person of color disagreeing with a liberal person of color, it basically destroys the narrative right there. You know, and that's what you're starting to see more of is you're
Right.
starting to
You
see
are.
more people like I think it was Axel. Axel had a video on his channel a while back where I think was it Tony X, I think, but he was just literally laying into Al Sharpton. I mean, this guy was like just. I think Tony was his first name, but I don't know if it's Tony X or I think he was a rapper. I think I could be wrong, but the guy was just like literally going off on Al Sharpton, and Pastor Mark Burns has been a huge Trump supporter. And I
Right.
and I saw the video a while back where Mark Burns was defending Trump against Al Sharpton. you know.
Yeah. Well,
And
no.
it's,
The
you
point is,
know,
the point is, look, no ethnicity is a monolith. Okay. Now the
yeah,
Democrats, they're great at giving out free shit. Again, I've said it a million times. I mean, Hispanics are natural Republicans. Is that when they get here, they get handed all this free shit, and it's hard to say no. And then the Democrats say, don't
yeah,
forget who gave you this free shit. It was us. When you go to the polls, again, the
hmm
Dinesh D'Souza movie showing the Italians and the Irish getting off the boats, and the Democrats grabbing
hmm
onto them, getting them a free place to live, getting them a job, and then banging on their doors on election day. Literally grabbing them to the polls and saying you got to vote Democrat. So the same thing goes on now. It's
yeah,
just they don't necessarily bang on your door and beat you and grab you, but they just give you free shit and they say, "Don't forget who we are." But I tell you what, the great
hmm
dirtbag. I tell you what, it's I've been on for a little over 2 hours, and I'm going to go ahead and end the
Oh
stream for the
yes,
night.
yes,
No,
uh-huh.
no. Just stay right there. Let me just cut us in here real quick. Let's see where we go. Boom. All right. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream for tonight. It's been definitely a great conversation. Totally appreciate you coming on the video call. Also want to thank
hmm
DA Archer for the telephone call and bringing him in.
Yes,
That was really,
hmm
really good. And yeah, I figured out how to bring the phone caller in and be able to converse with the video caller and me at the same time. About a month ago, I was really happy I was able to figure that little mess out. That was kind of a mess. But anyway, but
yeah,
I want to thank everybody that's been in the chat tonight, everybody who's been viewing us, and everybody who'll be viewing us later. And for Carl's opinions, Carl, have a great night. And Mr. DB, do you want to say good night to everybody?
yep. Good night, Sheena. Good night, American Joe. Hey, great to see you in the chat. Forbidden information. Keep pushing your message. You're doing a great job. You're gonna make it big one day. You will make it big one day. I don't know. Did DA leave? I haven't seen him.
Yeah.
Arena Linsky, have a good night. Solix, I believe. Yeah. Solix, thank you as always. Thank you for moderating. Thank you to everybody. We got to stay strong. We got to find ways to help, get people to the polls and take, we can't just sit on the sidelines anymore. It's just that ain't possible. It's not an option. We got to help get the message out, any way that we can.
No, I totally
I definitely
agree.
encourage, yeah, and
Totally
I
agree.
and I encourage everybody get on Parler. Parler's growing. It's a very good alternative to Twitter. It's fantastic. You meet a lot of interesting people there.
All right, guys.
But
Hey, for Carl's opinions, Carl, have a great night. We'll see you on the next live stream. Take care, guys. Bye bye.
all right, have a good night.